Chapter 1030. Devouring Fire. Lin Feng exclaimed as his eyes lit up. There was no way out. Since he was going to fail anyway, he decided to use the devouring fire as a last attempt. Since he couldn't change the bright gold or replace the stalactite gold, he would change the flame and change the most fundamental existence. The explosive power and intense character that the bright gold lacked could be found in the devouring fire. It was an existence that was completely different from the rebirth fire. It was a flame that was deemed impossible to refine weapons. However, there was only one last solution left. Fuse! Lin Feng yelled with a gloomy gaze. As soon as the 6th-level star technique, Devouring Fire, appeared, it seemed to have melted everything. It was much more terrifying than the bright gold and much more powerful than the rebirth fire. The power of the devouring fire was enough to devour the sword embryo and the sword body. Lin Feng's eyes were burning as he controlled the devouring fire to the extreme. He reached the most intermediate point and completely fused the sword embryo, the sword body, and the bright gold together. It was completed in just an instant. The control of the flame was extremely strong. It's done. It's really fused. Lin Feng's eyes glistened, but he couldn't believe it either. However, the truth was right in front of him. Very good. Lin Feng exclaimed in joy and immediately retracted the devouring fire. In another moment, the sword embryo and the sword body would probably be devoured. The power of the devouring fire was not something that these materials could withstand. At the same time, the coolant yellow catfish and the rebirth fire were instantly ignited, perfectly wrapping the 3 different existences together. It felt very heartwarming. This was the real flame for weapon refinement. Lin Feng's eyes lit up as the familiar feeling of being touched surfaced in his heart. Bang! A clear and melodious sound of an explosion resounded on the inferno stairway, and it instantly caused a wave of exclamations of shock in the surroundings. What? Lady Nangong turned around with disbelief in her beautiful eyes. She clearly saw that Lin Feng was powerless to reverse the heavens and had failed the refinement. However, he actually completed the refinement in just an instant? How did he do it? Her chest heaved up and down. Even Lady Nangong, who had always been calm, could not help but feel shocked. This was a successful refinement. Top grade. It was not the superior grade that she had expected. What happened just now? I think I saw a terrifying flame rising and then, Master Lin Feng completed the refinement. Really? There was a lot of discussion in the surroundings. Everyone was whispering and discussing. Just like that, another miracle was born. Lady Nangong's beautiful eyes immediately lit up. Dual flame refinement? So that's the case. No wonder. Ruoran nodded and looked at Lin Feng. Lady Nangong's eyes were filled with curiosity, but she could not understand this young man. Dual flame refinement. This was a skill that existed in legends among the blacksmith. He actually completed it, Wang Shi muttered softly. Dual flame refinement, this child is really amazing, Oyanqua said in disbelief. This is the first time I've seen such a legendary refining skill. It's really an eye-opener. Wang Shi's eyes lit up and he suddenly smiled. It's too exciting, Oyanqua praised. It was indeed exciting. It was incomparably exciting. Just by listening to the praises of the surrounding people, one could tell how sensational it was at this moment. Although it was not as good as Lady Nangong's miracle, just now, it was only slightly inferior. It completely surpassed the other contestants. Without a doubt, after this blacksmith competition, Master Lin Feng's name and the Lin clan's name would be thunderous. At this moment, the Lin clan was already grinning from ear to ear. Especially Lin Zhen. He was so excited that he looked up to the sky and roared, attracting the attention of the surrounding people. But he didn't care. Happy. Too happy. You're too proud. Lin Zhen laughed. Brother Lin, you've really hidden your strength well, haha. Lin Zhan said, in the future, when I go out, I'll announce Master Lin Feng's name. Who doesn't give me some leeway, hee. Lin Yan stroked his long beard and nodded slowly, feeling very satisfied. The result was completely unexpected. Lin Yuma's face emitted a moving luster. Her flawless face was filled with a beautiful smile. From the bottom of her heart, she was happy and proud for Lin Feng. Seeing her sweetheart succeed, that feeling was more satisfying than winning herself. 775 points. The score was quite high. Although the dual dragon sword was only at the first level of the earth rank and shouldn't be more than 700 points, Wang Shi still gave it a rather high score. Just for a miracle, dual flame refinement. It was a unique refining technique. Looking at Lin Feng's score, the rest of the competitors' faces were extremely unsightly. First, there was Lady Nangong's 1960 points, then there was Lin Feng's 1550 points, ranked second. Now, they couldn't even snatch second place. It could be said that the pressure was extremely great. And at this time, phew! After much effort, Master Ouyang finally completed the refinement. Although he was missing a few materials, the astral treasure was still successfully refined on the 6th floor. Master Ouyang's refining technique was indeed exceptional. To be able to use other materials to replace the main material in the refinement of an exquisite astral treasure, this in itself was a rather strong ability. But, when he saw Lady Nangong's and Lin Feng's scores, Master Ouyang's face turned green. Two high scores of 1,500 points and above overwhelmed everything else. His 560 points looked so glaring, simply incomparable. He was completely outclassed. Not to mention Lady Nangong, even compared to Lin Feng, he was a full 1,000 points behind. Did he still have a chance to surpass him? Smiling bitterly and shaking his head, Master Ouyang couldn't help but sigh. Before he could climb a mountain in front of him, a huge wave surged from behind him, completely drowning him. It was indeed lamentable. Lady Nangong. Master Lin Feng. Lady Nangong. Cheers and cheers rang out all around. The finals were now almost half over, and the winner and loser were gradually emerging. Other than Lady Nangong and Lin Feng, the rest of the competitors no longer had the strength to compete for the championship. Regardless of whether it was Wang Bo or Master Ouyang, they were now out of the running for the championship. The first refinement was very important because that was the time when the materials were the most complete. As for the second and third refinement, it was undoubtedly more difficult to choose the leftovers. After seeing that Lin Feng had completed his refinement, Lady Nangong didn't stop and immediately started the second round of refinement. Her refinement progress was slightly faster than Lin Feng's, and she had already chosen the materials for the second round. To be able to win the championship of the Weapon Refinement Master Competition 9 times in a row, Lady Nangong not only had strength that far exceeded the others, but she was also rather stable and watertight. And this was the characteristic that an outstanding weapon refinement master must have. It was still Tohoku's 7th step of the stairway to heaven. Lady Nangong didn't attack the 8th step. In fact, she didn't need to. Very smart. Wang Shi nodded. Indeed, the pressure is completely given to Lin Feng. Ouyang praised lightly, with Lady Nangong's strength, as long as she can refine the top grade this time, she will definitely win, but Lin Feng has to refine the perfect grade to have any hope. It's easier said than done. To win, Lin Feng can only enter the 8th step of Tohoku's stairway to heaven, 5 times the coefficient. Wang Shi shook his head lightly. But the 8th step of Tohoku's stairway is already comparable to a saint-level flame, it's difficult to resist. Even if Lin Feng succeeds in refining on the 8th step, Lady Nangong can still enter the 8th step to refine the 3rd round. Ouyang's eyes were bright as he said slowly, steadily and surely, step by step, it seems that Lady Nangong is determined to win the championship of this Weapon Refinement Master Competition. Yes. Wang Shi nodded. The gap of 410 points in the first round is very difficult for Lin Feng to catch up, Lady Nangong is too steady. Oyenqua suddenly smiled and said, President, in fact, aren't we asking too much of this child? It's just his first time participating in the competition. I forgot, haha. Wang Shi smiled casually. Indeed, to be able to achieve such a result in his first competition, TSK, this child is really amazing. In the future, Lin Feng's name will probably be more famous than Lady Nangong's, and his achievements will be even greater. I think so too. Oyenqua nodded. They looked at each other and smiled. They were in a very good mood. Zhuke Chao Refiners Union was growing stronger and stronger. As the president and vice president of the union, Wang Shi and Oyenqua were naturally happy. However, the other contestants were not in such a good mood. Lady Nangong and Lin Feng were like two mountains pressing down on them, making it difficult for them to breathe. Be it Wang Bo or Master Ouyang, both of them chose Tohoku's seventh step of the stairway to heaven for the second round of refinement. They were burning their bridges. In fact, they had no choice but to do so. They were convinced that they had lost to Lady Nangong, but to lose to Lin Feng, they were unwilling to do so. If this newcomer who came out of nowhere stepped on them, they would lose face. Everyone was full of fighting spirit. Even though there were many difficulties, no one had any intention of giving up. If they wanted to fight, they had to fight vigorously. Lin Feng obviously did not know that he would arouse everyone's fighting spirit. In fact, he did not care at all. Lin Feng did not enter the cube space to choose again. At this moment, he was standing outside the cube space indifferently. His eyes were condensed, and he looked like a stone statue. What's wrong with Master Lin Feng? Yeah, Master Lin Feng hasn't thought about what to refine yet. I think so. He has already taken most of the materials. It seems that it will be very difficult to gather another set. But I believe that Master Lin Feng will have no problem. Everyone was talking at once, discussing animatedly. They were extremely confident in Lin Feng. They had long been conquered by Lin Feng. Strength spoke for itself. At this moment, Lin Feng's eyes were like stars as he stared at the remaining materials in the cube space in front of him. It was as if a starry sky had been set up in his mind, reflecting the remaining materials one by one. Lin Feng's eyes flickered. He had a photographic memory. Suddenly, Hua! Lin Feng's silhouette flickered and disappeared from the scene. Everyone widened their eyes in shock. It can't be right? Why did Lin Feng leave? Chapter 1031. Everyone's face was full of confusion. They had no idea what was going on. Even Lin Yuma, Lin Zhen, and the others looked at each other, their faces full of confusion and inexplicable strangeness. What was Lin Feng doing? Where did he go? Wang Shi's face twitched. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This was the first time he had seen such a scene in the countless craftsmen's competition. There were still more than 3 hours before the end of the competition, but a contestant left midway? Gosh, this was the final competition, the competition that every craftsman dreamed of entering. Even if they were only here to make up the numbers, it was a symbol of glory. Not to mention that Lin Feng was ranked second. Everyone was looking at him. However, Lin Feng left like the wind. No one knew where he went. Oyenqua looked at Wang Shi and was speechless. The rules didn't say that he couldn't leave, President. That may be the case, but… Wang Shi was speechless. He paused and sighed helplessly. This Lin Feng is really messing around. He shook his head. If he were an ordinary craftsman, Wang Shi would have been furious and disqualified him. However, Lin Feng, he couldn't be generalized. He was a craftsman who would surpass Lady Nangong in the future. He was enough to revitalize the Zhuke Chao Refiners Union. Of course, he couldn't beat or scold him, let alone leave midway. Maybe he had something important to deal with? Wang Shi comforted himself. Where did Lin Feng go? This was the answer that everyone wanted to know. However, no one knew. including the people of the Lin clan. Even people like Yuma and Linjin, who were close to him, didn't know. Who else would know? Right now, everyone was discussing fervently. All kinds of possibilities were brought out. It even overshadowed the craftsman's competition itself. Wang Shi and Ouyangque felt helpless. Cough, cough. Wang Shi pretended to be calm and said, "Everyone, there's no need to be suspicious. It's like this. Lin Feng has something urgent to deal with and will be back soon." As soon as he said this, the scene became much quieter. Wang Shi let out a long breath in his heart and looked at Ouyangque. The two of them couldn't help but smile bitterly at each other. The president of the Union of Artificers and the vice president had to clean up after Lin Feng. Truly helpless. "Yuma, do you know what Lin Feng is doing?" Lin Jin frowned. "I don't know. Linda Good didn't mention it to me." Lin Yuma shook his head and his eyes flickered. Lin Jin pondered for a while and suddenly lowered his voice. "Actually, it might not be a bad thing. Think about it, these 1550 points are real. As long as he's not disqualified, I'm sure that Lin Feng will either be second or third place this time. It's enough for him to become famous. He doesn't need to fight for first place, nor can he fight for first place." "What do you mean, clan head?" Lin Yen narrowed his eyes. "Retreat in order to advance. Anyway, the success rate is very slim even if he continues to refine. It's better to be smart and retreat." Lin Jin laughed heartily. Others might not know, but he knew that Lin Feng had already used up all his tricks. Lin Degu won't give up halfway. Lin Yuma's eyes flickered, faintly flickering with wisdom. Standing in Lin Feng's position, Lin Yuma vaguely guessed where Lin Feng had gone, but he wasn't sure. However, there was one thing he was very clear about: Lin Feng would never give up. No matter what he did. Lin Jin nodded and smiled. "Maybe it's just as President Wang Shi said. Lin Feng has something urgent to deal with. Anyway, no matter what, it might not be a bad thing." Lin Yen and the others didn't quite understand, but since the clan head said so, they would listen. Maybe it really was a good thing? "Old Hu, did you see that?" The gray-clothed youth's eyes shone brightly. "Yes, young master." Whitebeard's expression was solemn. "I take back what I said before. This Lin Feng probably has quite a terrifying strength." The gray-clothed youth nodded. "This is his true strength. This speed is already comparable to an ordinary saint-level powerhouse. My intuition was right. Not to mention other things, just his physical fitness alone is already one of the top peak star sector-level powerhouses in the human world." Whitebeard smiled slightly. "But I believe that young master will definitely be better." The gray-clothed youth smiled faintly and didn't say anything. However, the smile on his face was enough to show his confidence. His eyes shone with a sharp and terrifying light. A breeze blew through the gray-clothed youth's fringe, and a hideous scorpion mark appeared on his forehead, shining with a golden light. How similar was he to Shi Jixin? Where was Lin Feng? No one knew because Lin Feng quickly left the venue. Taking advantage of the chaos, he had already opened a spatial door and returned to the Lin clan. Now that he was already a peak star sector-level powerhouse and had 3 spatial door marks, he didn't need to worry about the spatial door in the Thousand Snake Cave disappearing. As for returning to the kingdom of Maru, there were many ways, so it didn't matter. To Lin Feng, since he was participating in the competition, he had to do his best and use every method possible. He didn't want to give up. He didn't want to lose either. In the cultivation room, there was an inscription array with 300 times the time. Lin Feng sat cross-legged with his eyes closed. He was currently in a state of cultivation. There's still 3 hours before the end of the finals. And to refine an astral treasure, the fastest is 5 minutes, the slowest is 15 minutes, and the slowest is 1 hour. In other words, I still have more than 2 hours of time to comprehend. Lin Feng's thoughts were extremely clear. In the venue, 2 hours were useless. However, in the inscription array with 300 times the time, 2 hours was equivalent to 300 hours, a full 25 days. He had enough time to think of a way. First of all, according to the materials in my memory, I have to find a suitable way to refine astral treasures. Although a lot will be taken away in these 2 hours, I can't care so much now. I'll do whatever I can. I'll do my best and leave the rest to fate. Lin Feng pondered and soon immersed himself in it. Because he had comprehended the 6th level of star cultivation and comprehended the devouring fire, he could comprehend all the star techniques in the 6th level. Most importantly, the star constellation of the special system was extremely sensitive, and comprehension was twice the result with half the effort. However, he had to hurry. The first day, the second day, the third day. Time continued to pass, and Lin Feng searched patiently. The first step was very crucial. If he didn't even satisfy all the current materials, he would definitely have fewer materials to use when he returned to the venue. He had to get 100%. Hard work paid off. After spending a full 5 days, Lin Feng finally found a suitable way to refine astral treasures. Sure enough, there's always a way out. Lin Feng smiled and was very satisfied. The only regret is that this is an Earth rank level 3 astral treasure. It's much more difficult to refine than the rolling curtain shuttle. But at least it's a good start. Lin Feng quickly made up his mind. Nothing in the world was perfect, and everything went according to one's wishes. Although it was difficult to refine an Earth rank level 3 astral treasure, fortunately, it still belonged to the category of level 4 astral treasures. If it was an Earth rank level 4 astral treasure, the difficulty would really be a whole level higher. 40 materials, most of them are unpopular materials. The only 3 popular materials, the intermediate metal bright gold, the coolant yellow catfish, and the fusion or magnetic ring stone, I have them all. Fortunately, I was 1 step ahead at that time. Lin Feng smiled faintly, feeling lucky. Although he couldn't refine the rolling curtain shuttle, many of the materials were still useful to him. Although he had used quite a bit of the intermediate metal bright gold and the coolant yellow catfish, when he was refining the twin dragon swords, he had only used up 1/3 of it. The remaining was enough to refine the soaring phoenix wings. The most important thing now was, could he comprehend it in the remaining time? There definitely won't be a problem. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. If even he didn't have confidence, it meant that he had already lost by half. In an instant, Lin Feng entered his own state. Now that his eyes had advanced, his comprehension ability had deepened by a level. What's more, after laying the foundation for the space condensation in the second round of the Weapon Refining Master competition, he was now a true Earth rank weapon refiner. Everything was ready except for the east wind. Lin Feng entered the state of comprehension without any distractions. Time waited for no one. The Weapon Refining Master competition was still going on vigorously. Although Lin Feng's departure was strange, the majority of the weapon refiners didn't care whether or not there was one less person. To them, whether or not they could successfully refine, how many points they obtained was the most important. The spectators also once again returned their gazes to the field. It was getting more and more exciting. At this time, on the 7th floor of Tohoku's sky stairway, Wang Bo, Master Ouyang, and Li Yuan were doing their utmost to refine. However, unlike Lady Nangong, the 3 appeared extremely exhausted. Besides Master Ouyang, who was slightly better, Wang Bo and Li Yuan were even more miserable. Their backs were completely drenched, and their complexions were deathly pale. Bang! The sound of an explosion echoed. Li Yuan's complexion was yellow, and he fell to the ground. The refinement failed. Not long after, bang! Wang Bo followed in Li Yuan's footstep. Although his strength was not bad, among the 3 great weapon refinement aristocratic families, the Wang clan refined heavy star armor. As a result, Wang Bo was not that good at astral treasure refinement, let alone refining on Tohoku's sky stairway's 7th floor? Failure was hard to avoid. Master Ouyang still persisted, but his spirit was dispirited, and he was unbearably exhausted. Although his weapon refinement skills were not bad, not much worse than Lady Nangong's, the rules of this competition were nevertheless very unfavorable to him. His original strength was insufficient, and because of this, he lost the opening. Afterwards, his disadvantage snowballed bigger and bigger, and he was further and further away from Lady Nangong. He had already withdrawn from the ranks of contending for champion. At this time, Lady Nangong stood alone. On that elegant face, she emitted a pure and holy light. Calm and composed, Lady Nangong was like a blooming peony, making people look up to her. The frenzied Tohoku basically could not approach her body. Her beautiful complexion was as tranquil as a lake, her depths unfathomable. Following the slow passage of time, Lady Nangong's refinement also entered the end. Just like her expression, she was unperturbed, without a single mistake. Steady enough to make one's hair stand on end. Bang! A crisp explosion. Just by hearing this sound, one knew what the result was. Lady Nangong completed the 2nd round of refinement. Chapter 1032. Top Tier. Exclamations and praises could be heard all around her. This was already the 2nd round of refinement, and the materials were all different. It was already a miracle that she could complete the refinement, let alone a top-tier one. However, this was nothing to Lady Nangong. Even after the refinement was completed, Lady Nangong didn't show any emotion. This was just her normal performance. Bottomless, Wang Shi praised. She's getting stronger every time. Not to mention the Vermilion Bird continent, her refining skills are top-notch even in the entire southern region. Ouyang Qua's eyes flashed with admiration. Wang Shi nodded with a smile. It seems that I can set my mind at ease. Ouyang Qua's eyes flashed. With Lady Nangong's leadership, the Zhuke Chao Refiners Union will definitely have a new outlook and a new breakthrough. All right, old Qua. Wang Shi glared. Are you saying that I'm useless? No, that's not what I meant, President. Ouyang Qua covered his mouth and said, What I meant was, haha. Wang Shi laughed heartily. I'm just joking with you. Ouyang Qua's expression softened when he heard this, and he smiled bitterly. 799 points. Lady Nangong's 2nd round of refinement was also very high. It was almost the full score of 800 points, which was close to the top-tier grade. It was enough to show how satisfied Wang Shi was. In actuality, Madame Nangong's refinement was indeed worthy of this astonishing score. An Earth rank 5th layer astral treasure, the difficulty was considerably high, let alone that Madame Nangong had refined it under the circumstances of lacking several kinds of materials. Astral treasures were different from astral weapons and astral armors. Even the slightest mistake could cause the entire refinement to fail. However, Lady Nangong still completed the refinement perfectly. She even completed it on the 7th floor of the Tohoku stairway. This was strength, a truly unparalleled refining technique. No matter if it was Wang Bo or Master Ouyang, at this moment, they were nothing but the dazzling star that was Lady Nangong. Multiplied by twice the coefficient, it was 1,598 points. Including the 1,960 points from the first round, Lady Nangong's total score was 3,555 points. He was far ahead. Lin Feng, who was in 2nd place, only had 1,550 points, a difference of 2,005 points. The gap between them was huge. As expected, the champion is Lady Nangong. That goes without saying. Although Master Lin Feng is powerful, the older, the wiser. There's no chance. Even if Master Lin Feng gets full marks, he'll only get 2,000 points. There's no way he can catch up to Lady Nangong. Oh, the champion of the 10th blacksmith competition. After today, Lady Nangong will be the new president of the Zhuke Chao Refiners Union. That's awesome! The surroundings were noisy, full of praises. The title of the #1 blacksmith in the Zhuke continent belonged to Lady Nangong. Even the Nangong family was in high spirits, vaguely ranked first among the 3 blacksmith families. However, at this moment, Lady Nangong frowned and looked around, as if she was looking for something. Lin Feng still hadn't returned. At this moment, there were still more than 2 hours before the end of the competition. Although there were some doubts in her eyes, Lady Nangong didn't dwell on it for too long. After thinking for a while, she entered the cube space again. She didn't want it to end here. Ah? Lady Nangong still wants to refine? Nonsense. The final competition isn't decided in one go. Of course, the higher the score, the better. Strive for perfection and keep breaking through. This is a true blacksmith. She wants to surpass herself, Ouyang murmured. Wang Shi smiled faintly. Her opponent has always been herself. Is it because of this greed that she has such excellent refining skills? Ouyang was convinced. Staring at Lady Nangong, Wang Shi's eyes shone brightly. He said slowly, "This time, I think she will challenge the 8th level of the Tohoku stairway to heaven that no one has ever succeeded in refining. Winning by playing it safe. That's her personality." Ouyang nodded. Yes. Wang Shi said, "She will first ensure that her score is enough to win the championship. Then, she will challenge and see if she can create another miracle." Shaking his head, Wang Shi said seriously, "Unfortunately, being cautious and playing it safe can be an advantage, but it can also be a disadvantage for blacksmiths. We are already lacking a lot of materials for the 3rd round." Ouyang sighed. If there were enough materials, the two believed that with Lady Nangong's skills, it would be very possible for her to complete the refinement on the 8th level. But now, the time and place were no longer available. The blacksmith competition was bustling. At this moment, Lin Feng was also making use of the time to comprehend. There is no problem with the refining skills. The key lies in the Tao of constellation. Lin Feng frowned deeply and fell into deep thought. With his current ability, perfectly replicating the entire refining process was not a problem. But, just like in the first round, this kind of simple replication was very dangerous. It was like stepping on a steel wire. It was very easy to step on nothing. In the last round, he was purely lucky to complete the refinement with the devouring flames. But would he be so lucky this time? He could only do it once, but not twice. Leaving his fate in the hands of the heavens was a mistake in itself. Although the 40 materials were all present when he left, he would definitely be missing some when he returned to the venue after 2 hours. In order to make up for the difference in materials and complete the entire refining process, he had to have a deep understanding of the Tao of constellation this time. Only then would he have a chance. I will definitely be able to comprehend it within the time limit. Definitely. Lin Feng's eyes glistened and he maintained his state. Although the consumption was huge, it didn't matter. Only this time. He comprehended rapidly. For ordinary warriors, a few years was probably too short to comprehend the 4th level of star technique. However, Lin Feng was different. The star cultivators of the special type main star had already reached the peak of the star sector level. His constellation sensing ability was the strongest among the 7 main stars. Coupled with his state and the star sky pupil's ability, comprehension was much easier. And the most important thing was whiplash and pressure. The constant pressure whipped Lin Feng to grit his teeth and comprehend. Those who were not determined would be crushed by the pressure. However, those who had strong beliefs and willpower could continuously improve under the pressure. Lin Feng was one of them. Yes, that's it. Soaring phoenix wings is actually a process of composition, a perfect drawing of the essence. I kind of understand now. He continuously comprehended and simulated the refinement process in his mind. It could be said that Lin Feng's comprehension was divided into two parts. He refined over and over again and was extremely familiar with it. The memories in his mind were clear and perfect. Every movement and detail was replicated. The entire Tao of the constellations was like a painting that was slowly being drawn out. In his eyes, a huge flaming phoenix was gradually being drawn out in his mind, spreading its wings and soaring in the sky. The gently floating wings shone with the extreme light of the flames and fused perfectly with the rebirth flames. The feeling was getting more and more familiar and intense. Lin Feng's comprehension was gradually getting better. The weapon refinement master competition continued. The later it was, the more difficult it was to refine. 4 hours had already passed, and every minute that passed was a heavy pressure for the contestants. This was because apart from Lady Nangong and Master Ouyang, there was no third person who completed 2 rounds of refinement. The score was quite low. Even though Master Ouyang completed 2 rounds of refinement, his total score was not even comparable to Lin Feng's score. It was very difficult to refine on the 7th floor of Tohoku's celestial stairway. It's been 15 minutes. Is Lady Nangong still not refining? Stupid. That's the 8th floor of Tohoku's celestial stairway. I heard that the flames are close to the saint level. Do you think it's so easy to refine? She has to get used to the flames on the 8th floor first. Otherwise, she will definitely fail. No one was interested in who would be the champion of this year's Weapon Refinement Master Competition. This was because no one could surpass Lady Nangong's score. That high and mighty 3,555 points had long been locked in as the champion of this year's competition. Even Lin Feng, who was in second place, was a full 2,500 points behind. It was a score that was difficult to get close to. Everyone's attention was focused on Lady Nangong. Could she create another miracle? Complete the refinement of the 8th floor of Tohoku's celestial stairway? It was very difficult. The difficulty was definitely not lower than refining the perfect grade on the 7th floor. Just by looking at Lady Nangong's solemn expression at this moment, the looming light outside her body, and the crazy flames could be seen. The flames here were more than 10 times more terrifying than those on the 7th floor. Even though Madame Nangong was calm and collected on the 7th floor, here, it was difficult to move forward. Time passed bit by bit. Everyone held their breaths and waited. Beep, beep, beep. The sound of the hourglass was very crisp. On the big screen in the sky, all the sand in the 5th hourglass flowed out. The 6th hourglass began to count down. It was the last hour. Whoosh! Lady Nangong opened her eyes. The light outside her body suddenly increased by several times. In an instant, the crazy flames were suppressed. However, seeing the expression on Lady Nangong's face, it was clear that this was not an easy task. In an instant, Lady Nangong began to refine. Her movements were as smooth as ever, but it lacked a smooth feeling. Everyone was watching. Only the members of the Lin clan were looking left and right. Where did Brother Lin go? Why isn't he back yet? Lin Zhan looked around and kept muttering. There's only 1 hour left. Lin Zhan's eyes flashed. He did not care as much as Lin Zhan. In any case, there was not much difference whether Lin Feng came back or not. There was only 1 hour left. The ranking was basically settled. Although Lin Feng's advantage was small, it was not a problem for him to maintain the 2nd place. Even if he came back, could he shake Lady Nangong's position? Lin Zhan smiled. He did not even think about it. His results were good enough. He seemed to be able to see the day when the Lin clan shone brightly and completely suppressed the Pang family. What a joke! The 2nd place of the Weapon Refinement Master Competition, Lin Feng, had now become a legend. Only Lin Yuma's eyes were shining. She kept waiting. She believed that Lin Feng would not give up. At this moment, whoosh! A breeze blew. The surrounding people were stunned. There seemed to be one more person in the venue. Lin Yuma's beautiful eyes lit up. She smiled happily. Lin Feng was finally back. Chapter 1033. Wow! Cries of surprise could be heard. Lin Feng's appearance was like thunder on a sunny day, instantly activating the originally silent atmosphere. The clamor came one after another, as if they had arrived at a market. The crowd that was waiting for Lady Nangong suddenly became lively, beaming with joy as they discussed animatedly. I thought Master Lin Feng wouldn't be able to make it back in time. Yeah, I don't know what happened just now, but Master Lin Feng suddenly left. It must be something urgent. It's a pity that he wasted 2 hours. Otherwise, with Master Lin Feng's strength, he might be able to catch up with Lady Nangong. What a joke, how could he catch up? He's still short by 2005 points. The surroundings were bustling with noise and excitement. If the competition was one-sided, it would be boring. Now that Lin Feng had returned, all the supporters in the crowd were engaged in a war of words, and no one was willing to show weakness. As for Lin Feng, whoosh! It was only a momentary pause, but he had already entered the cube space. Time was of the essence. There was less than an hour left. To Lin Feng, every minute and every second could not be wasted. Wow! With a flash of white light, Lin Feng instantly entered this familiar area. Without stopping for a moment, he quickly used the mist cloud step. In his mind, the 40 materials for refining soaring phoenix wings appeared clearly, including the location of each material. It was like a starry sky dotted with stars. First, second, third. Lin Feng's eyes lit up, and in an instant, he took out 3 materials, and a faint smile appeared on his face. A good start. The more complete the materials, the higher the success rate of his refinement. Oh? Wang Shi's eyes lit up. This child seems to be prepared. Ouyang nodded. He took out the materials without hesitation and as fast as the wind. He seems to have made sufficient preparations in these 2 hours. Wang Shi smiled indifferently, but he did not care too much. He was just curious. To him, the champion of this year's weapon refiner competition was already without any suspense. In fact, that was what everyone thought. Lady Nangong would definitely win. However, Wang Shi was also curious about what Lin Feng would refine next. It stopped. Ouyang's eyes lit up. After taking 7 materials, Lin Feng finally stopped. Ouyang looked pensive. If I have not guessed wrong, what this little guy wants to refine should be the Earth rank 3rd layer astral treasure, Phoenix Wings Soaring Heaven. Wang Shi softly said. As far as astral treasures were concerned, he had done deep research. His experience were things that none of the tool refinement masters present could compare to. Soaring Phoenix Wings. Ouyang was slightly astonished. Although it is an Earth rank 3 astral treasure, rumor has it that the refining difficulty surpasses even an Earth rank 6 astral treasure. That's right. Wang Shi nodded. The refinement of soaring phoenix wings not only requires materials and tool refinement techniques, but more importantly, it requires a tool refinement master's flames to be extremely high. Therefore, very few tool refinement masters would choose to refine this kind of astral treasure. It is too troublesome. Ouyang smiled, knowing that there are tigers on the mountain, yet walking towards the tiger's mountain. Not necessarily. Wang Shi's eyes flashed. There are advantages and disadvantages. Although soaring phoenix wings has extremely high requirements for flames, as long as the flames are strong enough, its grade is instead much easier to upgrade. This little guy probably knows this point, so he wants to seek victory in the midst of danger. Borrowing Tohoku's power, he is quite smart. So that's how it is. Ouyang suddenly nodded. His gaze turned towards Lin Feng, suddenly feeling a bit of admiration. The more he looked, the more he liked him. At such a young age, he already possessed this level of tool refinement technique. His thoughts were even more meticulous, truly a first-rate talent. Of course, how could Lin Feng know so much? His understanding of astral treasures was not as deep as Wang Shi's. His understanding of soaring phoenix wings was merely limited to the way of constellations. As for tool refinement techniques, flames and so on, how could these be considered within his scope of consideration? Right now, to be able to find all the materials, to Lin Feng, this was already a heavenly gift. 25 pieces, 28 pieces, 30 pieces. Lin Feng's eyes flashed, speeding forward, his heart filled with joy. The materials were even more complete than he had imagined. That's strange, compared to 2 hours ago, these materials are not much less. They don't need materials. Lin Feng was rather curious, but he did not know that at this moment, the majority of tool refinement masters had already exhausted their abilities and were unable to refine anymore. Missing one material was fine, but missing 4, 6 materials, how could they refine? Rather than wasting time and fighting for a chance that was not even 1 in 10,000, it was better to lose this person and end this refinement. Anyway, what was the difference between 2nd and 10th place? They were all reputable figures, so naturally, they disdained to snatch materials like Pang Hui did. To them, how could it help? At this moment, other than Master Ouyang and Pang Hui who were still refining, the rest of the people, including Wang Bo, were all focused on Lady Nangong's refinement, not moving at all. To be able to watch Lady Nangong's refinement up close to them was a rare learning opportunity. The stronger one was, the deeper one's experience, the more benefits one would gain. There was no end to learning, and the one who reached the top was first. Everyone would not lose face because of Lady Nangong's youth. Therefore, Lin Feng benefited. Or else, if every tool refinement master had 200 materials, Lin Feng would be missing at least 5 or 6 materials, and not like now, where he was only missing 2. And these 2 materials were completely replaceable. To the Lin Feng right now, it was not a difficult task. I can use pear chrysanthemum as a replacement. It has little effect. I can use green plum jade as a replacement. It has no effect either. Phew! Lin Feng exhaled deeply. He took the last 37th material with his right hand and announced that he was done. In addition to the original bright gold, yellow catfish, and magnetic ringstone, the 40 materials were almost complete. But, in a flash, Lin Feng appeared in the venue again. Everyone's attention was focused on him. Lin Feng's eyes flashed and landed on the Lin clan. Immediately, he saw Yuma, who had a fresh smile on her face, and his heart warmed. Lin Feng nodded at Yuma, indicating that she did not need to worry. Then, he raised his head and looked at the screen in the sky. At this moment, the last hourglass had begun to fill with sand, but this was not within Lin Feng's sight. His gaze was focused on the ranking. In first place, Lady Nangong. 3,555 points? Lin Feng was surprised, and his eyes flashed. She's a full 2,005 points higher than me. Even if I get full marks on the 7th level of Tohoku's stairway, I'll still lose by 5 points. Lin Feng calculated quickly and frowned slightly. He turned his head and looked at the 8th level of Tohoku's stairway. At this moment, Lady Nangong's face was slightly red, and the light around her body was flashing intensely. She was meticulously refining. Although she looked tired, Madame Nangong was extremely focused and was not affected in the slightest. She was very serious. The 8th level, 5 times the coefficient. If I want to win, this is the only way, Lin Feng said softly. His eyes flashed and he quickly made a decision. He had to go to the 8th level for the final refinement. He had no other choice. Oh? Ouyang Qua's eyes lit up. Indeed, a newborn calf is not afraid of a tiger. Wang Shi smiled and said, "He's not afraid of Master Ouyang's final pursuit at all. This child only has Lady Nangong in his eyes. Very good. A blacksmith must have the spirit of daring to challenge, although, The result might not be satisfactory. Wang Shi nodded and smiled. He was very satisfied with Lin Feng's performance in all aspects. That's not necessarily true. Maybe this child can create a miracle? Ouyang joked. I hope so too. Wang Shi shrugged indifferently. But this possibility is probably not even 1 in 10,000. The reason Lady Nangong could withstand Tohoku's attack on the 8th level was because of the protection of an innate treasure. However, Lin Feng is from the Lin clan. How can he have such a treasure? Indeed, how can a peak cosmic sector level withstand a saint level flame? Ouyang sighed. Can he withstand it? Wow. Lin Feng's eyes glistened. As soon as he stepped onto the 8th level of the Tohoku stairway, Tohoku attacked him maniacally. Almost instantly, the flames of rebirth were ignited. However, oh no, Tohoku is too strong. Lin Feng's expression changed. After stepping onto the 8th level, he finally realized how terrifying Tohoku's power was. It was more than 10 times stronger than on the 7th level. Every inch of flame seemed to have a life of its own. It was like a venomous snake opening its bloody mouth and biting him. Although the defense of the flames of rebirth was strong and had reached the 5th level star technique, Tohoku's power, it was too terrifying. The replenishment speed can't keep up with the consumption speed at all. Lin Feng frowned. If this goes on, even staying on the 8th level will be a problem, let alone refining. Even if I use a stronger flames of devouring, I may be able to resist for a while, but, after nearly an hour of refining, the flames of devouring can't resist at all. Lin Feng gritted his teeth and turned pale. His plan couldn't keep up with the changes. However, he had no way out. Once he left the 8th level of the Tohoku stairway, the weapon refinement master competition would be over. That was not the result he wanted. Even if he lost, he had to lose willingly and not without a fight. This is the only way left. Lin Feng's eyes were deep and glistening. Come out, Hong Ling. Following Lin Feng's loud shout, an intense red light appeared. The red silk carried a shocking flame aura, and the thin scales looked like they were sliced by a knife as they shot out with a howl. His huge body emitted a scorching flame and instantly wrapped around his body, forming a solid wall that protected Lin Feng. Roar! The flame was dazzling and Hong Ling roared. It was the peak of the star sector-level fire-scaled battle snake. In terms of physique, he was much stronger than Lin Feng, and his resistance to flames was not something that Lin Feng could compare to. The flame was intense, and Hong Ling resisted the frenzied attacks of the Tohoku on the 8th level. All of a sudden, Lin Feng calmed down. Although the surrounding fire elements were extremely intense, and there were sporadic Tohoku darting out of the ground, they were nothing to Lin Feng. I'm counting on you, Hong Ling, Lin Feng said softly with glistening eyes. Smack! Lin Feng clenched his fists and opened them, after which flames were spat out. The final refinement began. Chapter 1034. Hong Ling's appearance instantly caused panic. That terrifying aura, accompanied by the huge body of the magical beast, caused the hearts of the surrounding people to tremble. A peak cosmic sector-level demon. F***CK, what is this? It's a demon. Why would a demon appear? Quick, kill it. The place was in a state of chaos and chaos. Even Wang Shi and Ouyang were shocked. Lin Zhen's expression changed slightly. Seeing the chaos around them and the fighting spirit of many warriors, he couldn't care less. He flew into the arena and shouted, "Everyone, don't panic. This is Master Lin Feng's contracted demonic beast, Hong Ling." As soon as he said that, the commotion in the crowd calmed down. The terrifying aura disappeared. This place was full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. In the crowd, Lam Tok T's eyes were cold. He recognized Hong Ling, and so did the Lin clan. However, they weren't as clear as Lin Zhen. Wang Shi and Ouyang finally realized what was going on. They looked at each other and smiled. They didn't expect Lin Feng to have such a trump card. This was unexpected. However, this didn't violate the rules. Contracted demonic beasts were also a type of power for blacksmith. Was it a rule that warriors couldn't use contracted demonic beasts in a battle of life and death? The logic was the same. But it can actually resist Tohoku's heavenly fire from the 8th level of the stairway to heaven. This contracted demonic beast is extraordinary. Wang Shi's eyes flashed with curiosity. It looks like a snake and a dragon. Please forgive my ignorance, but President, do you know what kind of demonic beast this is? Oyenqua stared at Hong Ling, full of doubts. Even though he was well-read and had a deep understanding of demonic beasts, he had never seen such a strange demonic beast. I haven't seen it either, Wang Shi said softly. It wasn't just the two of them who were confused. There was a lot of discussion around them. It looks like a giant dragon, but it doesn't. It looks more like a dragon that hasn't fully evolved, but that's not right. There are too many kinds of demons to count. How can we know all of them? Or is it some kind of hybrid of a dragon and a snake? There was a lot of heated discussion, and no one doubted it too much. The sea was vast, and there were many different kinds of demonic beasts. Even the most knowledgeable cultivator would not dare to say that he could recognize all of them. However, one thing was for sure, this peak cosmic realm state contracted demon beast wasn't ordinary. Roar. Hong Ling's eyes were bloodshot as he tried his best to resist. Although he was a fire-type battle snake and had a strong immunity to fire, the flames this time were too terrifying. It was even more inexhaustible. Fortunately, this was a natural flame that was not controlled by humans. Otherwise, Hong Ling's defense would have been completely destroyed in a short period of time. At this time, Lin Feng, after a short period of adaptation, instantly entered his own state, his eyes shining brightly. Last chance. Lin Feng clenched his fist and shouted. Flames of rebirth burst forth from his body. Lin Feng's eyes lit up, the constellation Tao of soaring phoenix wings appeared in his mind, and he immersed himself in it. Bit by bit, drop by drop, the feeling in his heart became stronger, and his body gradually felt a bit warmer. This is the feeling. Lin Feng pursed his lips. Under the strong pressure from the outside world, at this moment, he felt like he had to get it out. His condition was quite good. Begin. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly, and the flames in his hands roared. He had no time to waste. Not to mention how long Hong Ling could resist. Just the 6-hour limit was gradually coming to an end. This was not the second round. Even if he did not complete the test, he would still have points. The third round was the refinement. If the product was not complete, even if it was just a little bit off, it would be considered a failure. I want to win. Lin Feng was very determined. Even if the hope was very slim, and the probability was extremely small, he was not willing to admit defeat. That contracted beast blocked more than 90% of Tohoku, Oyenqua said softly. To Lin Feng, the refinement on level 8 is no different from level 7. Wang Shi nodded. It's a bit of a trick. Oyenqua smiled. If there are no accidents, Lin Feng should be able to complete the refinement this time. Our Vermilion Bird Refinement Master Competition can finally fill the gap that has been missing for a long time. Someone can complete the refinement on level 8. Not necessarily. Wang Shi put his hands behind his back and said, Old Qua, look carefully at that contracted beast. Oyenqua's expression changed slightly, and he immediately looked over. After a while, it seems to be barely able to resist. Oyenqua seemed to understand. No matter how strong its body is, it is only a peak cosmic realm state. Can only block for a while. Wang Shi's eyes flashed. With the current progress, I'm afraid this contracted beast will not be able to continue before Lin Feng completes the refinement. Wouldn't it be a failure? Oyenqua frowned. Although Lin Feng used a trick, he still hoped that Lin Feng could succeed. The Vermilion Bird Refinement Master Competition had been held countless times, but there had never been a refinement master who could complete the refinement on level 8 of Tohoku. Just this point alone made it inferior to the other continents in the southern region. Wang Shi smiled and shook his head. Not necessarily. Ouyangqua's face twitched, but he was confused by Wang Shi's words. Old Qua, did you forget that other than Lin Feng, there is another refinement master who is also on level 8 of Tohoku? Wang Shi's eyes lit up. Also, Lin Feng's entry will greatly relieve her pressure. This is great news for the Union of Artificers. Ouyangqua's eyes lit up. He looked at Lady Nangong and saw that Lady Nangong's expression had relaxed a lot, and the light around her body had dimmed. At this moment, most of the Tohoku was blasting toward Lin Feng. Originally, Lady Nangong was bearing the burden of the entire level 8 of Tohoku, but now only half of it was left. Naturally, the pressure was greatly reduced. Oh no. Lin Yan frowned. What's wrong, Yen Lao? Lin Zhen turned around and asked. Lin Feng helped Lady Nangong imperceptibly. Lin Yan's expression was serious. Originally, Lady Nangong could not hold on under the crazy attacks of Tohoku, but now she has calmed down, and the refinement is getting faster and faster. I'm afraid there's a 50% chance that Lady Nangong can complete the refinement. Lin Yan's words were firm, and the Lin clan members' expressions changed slightly. It can't be, right? Actually, there's no need to be so concerned. Anyway, Lin Feng can't catch up to her. Lin Yan's tone changed, and he suddenly smiled. At this moment, a clear light flashed on the 7th level of Tohoku's stairway, illuminating the sky. The clear outline and slightly blurry details were high-grade. However, it was a high-grade item refined on the 7th level. Wow! The surroundings were in an uproar. Master Ouyang has caught up. He's too powerful. He can still catch up like this. Counterattack. As expected of Master Ouyang. He can still surpass Master Lin Feng under such circumstances. Second place. Master Ouyang really lives up to his name of being second place forever. Ha! Everyone was in a heated discussion, and the Ouyang clan members were all smiling. Although they couldn't win the championship, getting second place could be considered as an affirmation. At least, they didn't lose face for the 3 great blacksmithing families of the Vermilion Bird continent. At the last moment, Master Ouyang completed the 5th refinement, erasing the score of the 6th level of Tohoku's stairway. At this moment, he had surpassed Lin Feng and was only below Lady Nangong. Master Ouyang could still achieve such a result after suffering a bad start and collapsing in the middle. It was enough to show how deep his foundation was. Phew! Letting out a long breath, Master Ouyang revealed a smile that hadn't been seen in a long time. I didn't expect that I would be forced into such a situation by a little guy. I really have to thank him for being able to perform exceptionally this time. Master Ouyang said softly. This time, even he himself thought that it was hopeless to catch up. However, he wasn't willing to lose to a little guy who was still wet behind the ears. Under pressure and with a huge burden on his back, Master Ouyang performed exceptionally well and succeeded in refining. Some people needed to be whipped to explode, and Master Ouyang was such a person. Master Ouyang didn't have such a fighting spirit when facing Lady Nangong. Although they had been competing, Master Ouyang knew the difference between him and Lady Nangong. But Lin Feng was different. Master Ouyang looked at the big screen in the sky and saw that his name was second place. He nodded in satisfaction. However, in an instant, his attention was attracted by the gigantic demon beast. Master Ouyang turned his head and looked. His eyes widened and he couldn't help but take a deep breath. What kind of monster is this? Master Ouyang was stunned. 3 strong contenders. Master Ouyang had already completed all the refining, while Lady Nangong and Lin Feng were still continuing. As for the other refiners, They had already recuperated and given up on competing. Only Pang Hui, who was at the bottom of the list, gritted his teeth and continued to try. However, he was unwilling to give up with 0 points. Although there was no difference between 2nd and 10th place, if he was the only one who got 0 points in the finals, it would be a bit of an eyesore and embarrassing. Harming others would only harm oneself. Although Pang Hui's strength was slightly inferior, if he had gone to retrieve the materials immediately, how could he have ended up like this? It could be said that everything was destined. He wanted to harm Lin Feng, but he didn't want to harm himself. Time passed slowly. The sound of the hourglass could be heard in the arena, warning that the 6-hour time limit was almost up. At this moment, Lady Nangong's face was deathly pale. Her weak body trembled slightly, and the light around her was faintly discernible, as if she had one foot in the grave. However, Lady Nangong's eyes were filled with stubbornness and unyieldingness as she bit her lips. Her hands moved rapidly as she endured the discomfort and pain. Lady Nangong's refining was gradually coming to an end. She was a woman, but she had such ability and willpower. The surrounding crowd was filled with admiration. Lady Nangong was indeed worthy of being the #1 refiner in the Vermilion Bird continent. At this moment, everyone's eyes were focused on her. Everyone held their breaths in anticipation. A miracle was born again. Boom! A deep explosion sounded from Madame Nangong's hand. A bright star appeared in the sky. Every cultivator widened their eyes and stared at the sky, feeling a deep sense of suffocation. Lady Nangong really succeeded. She completed the refining on the 8th step of the Tohoku stairway. Creating the Vermilion Bird Continent's refiner competition was a feat that no one had ever accomplished before. Another miracle was born. Chapter 1035. The outline was very clear. It was a totem. However, the totem was very blurry. It was impossible to see its full appearance. High quality. For Madame Nangong, it was hard to imagine that she would be able to make a high-quality weapon. Any time she made a weapon, as long as she casually made it, it would be a top-quality weapon. This was Madame Nangong's ability. She was the #1 weapon forger in the Suzaku continent. But this time, it was different. Not only did she lack a lot of materials, but she also had to refine it on the 8th level of the Tohoku stairway. It was very difficult. A high-quality item was already very rare and valuable. This point could be heard from the surrounding exclamations. Everyone was in an uproar. Not to mention a high-quality item, even if it was only a middle or low-quality item, it would be a miracle. Since the beginning of the Vermilion Bird Continent's blacksmith competition, there had never been a single participant who could successfully refine an item on the 8th level of the Tohoku stairway. Lady Nangong was the first. She opened a new chapter in the history of the Vermilion Bird Continent's blacksmith competition. Pa! 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 Waves of applause sounded. All the martial artists and blacksmiths were sincerely applauding Lady Nangong's performance. There was no jealousy. There was only admiration and respect. In terms of blacksmiths, Lady Nangong had already surpassed everyone present. Even Wang Shi and Ouyang Qua smiled and clapped. Even Master Ouyang, who had always viewed Lady Nangong as his goal, was not stingy with his applause. They had personally witnessed the birth of a miracle. This was even more unbelievable than refining a perfect quality item on the 7th level. Lady Nangong had done it. But, at this time, Lady Nangong's expression was surprisingly calm. Her eyes were like water as she looked at Lin Feng. I see. With a soft murmur, the light barrier around Lady Nangong's body shattered almost instantly. Her expression changed, and in a flash, Lady Nangong left the 8th floor. A hint of guilt flashed in her eyes, but she no longer had the ability to stay in the 8th floor. After Lady Nangong left, the crazy Tohoku lost their target and rushed towards Lin Feng. The sharing of pressure was mutual. Lin Feng had helped Lady Nangong share half of the Tohoku's burden. In fact, wasn't Lady Nangong the same? But now, Lady Nangong's Xiantian treasure could no longer bear the burden. Otherwise, with Lady Nangong's personality, she would definitely wait until Lin Feng finished refining. From this moment on, it was the real test for Lin Feng. The pressure of Tohoku's 8th floor was suffocating. Hum! Hum! The flames of rebirth appeared crazily. Lin Feng frowned. The sudden change in pressure made his body heavy. Fortunately, he had Hong Ling's protection. At this moment, Tohoku's pressure was only a small part. However, this change was deeply imprinted in his heart. Lin Feng suddenly tensed up. It should be Lady Nangong's refining. Hong Ling might not be able to bear Tohoku's sudden increase in attack power. Lin Feng frowned deeply. However, he did not stop refining. Multitasking was not that difficult for him. Moreover, the refining path of soaring phoenix was deeply imprinted in his heart. At this moment, he was refining according to his heart. His body had already perfectly memorized the experience and understanding, reaching a whole new level. With the current progress, it will take an incense stick's worth of time to finish. And Lin Feng's eyes flashed. He felt Hong Ling's weakness. As a contracted magical beast, he was very clear about Hong Ling's physical condition. Right now, he was just holding on. Hong Ling was a real existence. He had a physical body and life. He did not have the protection of the rainbow staff like the 100 poisons-colored python. As long as the rainbow staff was not destroyed, the 100 poisons-colored python could recover even if it died. Hong Ling did not have a second life. I can't let Hong Ling overdraw his strength. Otherwise, if his body is permanently damaged, it will be too great a loss for Hong Ling. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. He instantly made a decision. Even if the refining failed this time, even if he had to give up the finals, he would not let Hong Ling suffer any damage. Some things could be taken back in the future even if they were lost. However, he only had one life. Come back, Hong Ling. Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he shouted. As a contracted magical beast, he had absolute control over Hong Ling. Whoosh! Flames flashed. Hong Ling roared at the sky. Instantly, his huge body seemed to turn transparent. Under Tohoku's attack, he turned into an afterimage and disappeared instantly. Accompanied by cries of surprise, Lin Feng's figure appeared in front of everyone. Look, it's Master Lin Feng. As expected, Master Lin Feng is still refining. Maybe Master Lin Feng can also create a miracle and succeed. Stupid, Master Lin Feng's contracted magical beast can no longer resist Tohoku. The refining is going to fail. Everyone sighed softly. They felt pity for Lin Feng. Wang Shi and Ouyang Kuo looked at each other. They also felt helpless, but there was nothing they could do. As the organizers of the competition, they could not break the rules. Lady Nangong's eyes flashed with guilt. She wanted to help, but she was powerless. Without the protection of the Khanate treasure, she could not even withstand Tohoku's flames on the 7th level of the stairway to heaven. Only the corners of Pang Hui's mouth curled up. He was secretly delighted. The more Lin Feng was in the limelight, the heavier the blow to the Pang family. On the contrary, it was a good thing. The young man in gray frowned and clenched his fist. Suddenly, the old man with the white beard grabbed his wrist. What are you doing, old Hu? The young man in gray was slightly unhappy. No, young master, this is breaking the rules. The old man with the white beard bowed and said seriously. Are we going to watch him fail? The young man in gray's eyes lit up. A scorpion mark flashed on his forehead. I believe he has something else. The old man with the white beard smiled. Is that so? The young man in gray was skeptical. Here. The old man with the white beard's eyes lit up. Wow! There was an uproar in the crowd. Everyone widened their eyes and stared at Tohoku's 8th level of the stairway to heaven. Lin Feng had shown his power again. Bang! Bang! Another flame rose from the ground. Unlike Lin Feng's refining flame, this flame was filled with a violent and terrifying aura, as if it was domineering enough to devour everything. It spread around his body and collided with Tohoku. It was not at a disadvantage at all. It was too shocking. Dual flames. Lin Feng has indeed cultivated dual flames. Wang Shi's eyes glistened. This little guy is really good at hiding his abilities. Oyenqua sighed and said, he can actually compete with Tohoku's power, which is on the 8th level of the saint level. What flame is this? I've never heard of such a shocking level of flame in the Phoenix constellation. It should be a 6th level star technique, but how is that possible? Indeed, it was unimaginable. Regardless of how special the flame was, it was incredible that the power of a star sector level could be compared to that of a saint-level star technique. In fact, the 6th level fire of devouring was already at the peak of the star sector level, but it was still not enough to be compared to saint-level power. It could compete with Tohoku's 8th level mainly because of the characteristics of the fire of devouring that could devour all flames and destroy them. Just like how Hong Ling was immune to flames, the 6th level fire of devouring was still inferior to that of Tohoku's 8th level, but if they were to really fight, he could even win. Unfortunately, the fire of devouring was limited. It was not as endless as the fire of rebirth. Otherwise, Lin Feng wouldn't have to summon Hong Ling to resist it. However, he only needed 5 minutes. Hang in there. Lin Feng's gaze was gloomy. Facing the huge pressure, he was even more focused. There was no reason for him to fail. He couldn't fail. Otherwise, Hong Ling would have suffered for nothing. Bang! 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 The fire of rebirth continuously leaped up and seemed to have resonated with the fire of devouring outside. Lin Feng slowly closed his flickering eyes and deeply felt the Tao of refining. Not only did his movements not slow down, but they also became faster and more concise. The rhythm actually did not change, nor could it change. However, controlling with one hand was much more dazzling than controlling with 2 hands, and the changes were extremely fast. At this moment, Lin Feng was once again walking on a tightrope. There was no way out, and it was as if he was walking on a rope between 2 walls. He had no choice but to grit his teeth and go to the end. It's so strange. This feeling somehow makes me feel excited. I've never had such a feeling when I was simulating refining. What is it? What exactly is it? Lin Feng closed his eyes, and the feeling became more and more intense. In his mind, a huge phoenix appeared. It spread its wings and soared. Its wings were entwined with 2 separate flames, forming a perfect reflection. At this moment, Lin Feng was completely enlightened. His eyes widened with intense light as he looked ahead, as if he could see the soaring phoenix wings in his heart. That's it. I understand, the essence of soaring phoenix wings. Because of the appearance of the fire of devouring, the fire of rebirth was activated, and the hidden characteristic of soaring phoenix wings was also activated. These 2 are a kind of performance of the phoenix. Lin Feng's lips curled into a faint smile. At this moment, refining seemed to have become as he wished, and he could completely control it. At the last moment, the fire of devouring appeared from the outside and burned in his palm. It combined with the fire of rebirth and reflected with the metal material. The control of temperature, the grasp of rhythm, and the grasp of timing were perfect. It was as if this was a kind of fusion in itself. Wah! A light radiance bloomed, and the 2 flames miraculously merged. The surrounding people were dumbfounded. Even Lady Nangong's eyes lit up, and her perky chest rose and fell continuously. Wang Shi, Oyenqua, and the others were already dumbfounded. It was as if they had turned into statues. This kind of refining was simply unheard of. Pung! A light sound like the sound of nature resounded and emitted endless brilliance. There was no sound in the surroundings. There was only a phoenix entwined with soaring flames slowly rising and soaring in the sky, as if it had come alive. At this moment it was not just a miracle. Lin Feng had created a legend. Chapter 1036. Perfect grade? Ouyangque felt as if he was suffocating. Before Lady Nangong was able to create a perfect grade on the 7th floor, it was already shocking enough, but now Lin Feng was on the 8th floor of Tohoku's heaven stairway. Other blacksmiths could barely step on it, but Lin Feng was able to complete such a complicated refinement in such a harsh environment. It was even more perfect. In the air, the blazing flames perfectly wrapped around the phoenix. The pair of wings flashed with a unique luster, one on the left and one on the right, emitting an extreme sense of beauty. There was complete silence. Everyone looked at this strange scene and even found it difficult to breathe. This was the real phoenix wings soaring heaven. The power of the phoenix constellation enveloped everything. The nobility and majesty of the phoenix filled the entire place. That was a truly unparalleled existence, even if it was just a shadow. Even if this phoenix could not even be counted as a clone, it was still unreachable. The bird's cry lingered for a long time. The phoenix's eyes flashed fiercely, filled with a rich life force. No, this is not a perfect grade. Wang Shi's eyes widened, muttering, "Beyond perfect." Madame Nangong's chest gradually calmed down, but her beautiful face was still filled with disbelief and shock. Her eyes shone brightly. There were scattered records in the ancient books. I always thought that it only existed in legends, or even that it didn't exist at all, but the truth was right in front of them. As the #1 blacksmith in the Vermilion Bird continent, Lady Nangong's knowledge was unparalleled. She couldn't be more familiar with the process of refining perfect grade pills. The constellation in front of them was not just a perfect grade. On top of this, it gave the astral treasure a true life force, creating an existence beyond perfect. To a certain extent, this was no longer an astral treasure. It was completely comparable to an innate treasure. Clap, clap. Lightly raising her wrist, Lady Nangong's beautiful eyes moved, clapping for Lin Feng. Looking at the black figure, she was filled with admiration, respect, and a slight sense of competition, all kinds of complicated emotions. The clear applause was extremely resounding at this moment, and it jolted everyone awake from their stupefied state. In an instant, the applause was like a thunderclap that resounded madly. This was especially true for the craftsmen. Their eyes were glowing with excitement. Witnessing the birth of this legendary miracle with their own eyes, again and again, made their trip worthwhile. This year's blacksmith competition was simply too exciting. Regardless of whether it was Madame Nangong, who had reached the top, or Master Lin Feng, who had suddenly risen to become a legend, they had all become legends. Wang Shi was grinning from ear to ear, and even Ouyangque was nodding his head. He was so excited that he was speechless. From this moment on, the Zhuke Chao Refiners Union would enter a new era. Master Lin Feng and Lady Nangong would become the backbone of the Zhuke Chao Refiners Union, the true core existences. Phew! Lin Feng let out a long sigh. He smiled and looked at the exquisite work in front of him with endless emotions. Pressure, excitement, and all kinds of emotions accumulated. Coupled with the reflection of the fire of rebirth and the fire of devouring, the refinement just now could not be repeated. That feeling no longer existed, and it was like a flash in the pan. But now, he had truly refined his first work. A work that he could bring out. A perfect grade that did not rely on the uniqueness of the flames. It's hard to imagine. Lin Feng's eyes flickered. He gently held the exquisite jade sculpture that was like a piece of art. It was like a phoenix spreading its wings and flying high. The flashing light contained a strong vitality. In the depths of this soaring phoenix wings, there was a small vitality that was growing vigorously. Thinking back to the refinement just now, he had no memory of it. It felt as if it was made by heaven, bringing him into this refinement that transcended perfection. It's already perfect grade. And with the addition of the fire of devouring and the fire of rebirth, it reached a new level. Transcended perfection? Lin Feng smiled. Although Lady Nangong's voice was soft, he could still hear it. Obviously, there was such a level. Lin Feng turned his head and looked at Yuma, the figure that moved his heart. He smiled and nodded. Yuma's eyes flashed with a bright luster. Everyone in the Lin clan, including his foster father, was already hysterical and crazy at this time. They did not have any manners at all. I won. Lin Feng smiled and gently closed his eyes. He felt a sense of comfort from the heart, and it was not the excitement of winning the competition. Instead, it was the feeling of breaking through and surpassing oneself. After the excitement, everyone stared at Wang Shi. They were waiting for him to announce Lin Feng's score for this refinement. However, everyone was already very clear. Lin Feng would definitely win. With a score of 5 times the normal score, Lin Feng would probably be able to win the Weapon Refinement Master competition this time. Lin Feng had stumbled all the way to the final round. Who would have thought that he would be able to win the championship in the end? Moreover, he had defeated the 9-time champion of the Weapon Refinement Master competition, Lady Nangong. Lady Nangong's performance this time was not abnormal. In fact, Lady Nangong's performance this time was far better than the previous 9 times. Her weapon refinement skills had also reached the peak level. However, Lin Feng was even more frightening. 1,000 points. The score was out. The score this time was announced by Wang Shi before the big screen appeared in the sky. It made everyone go crazy. Full score. Not to mention the finals, a full score that had never appeared in the first or second round finally appeared at this moment. Throughout the entire Vermilion Bird Weapon Refinement Master competition, there had never been a full score in any competition. However, Lin Feng had done it. He had created another miracle. It's not excessive at all. Lady Nangong's beautiful eyes slightly widened. Moving gracefully, she arrived in front of Lin Feng. Lady Nangong extended her lily-white hand. Congratulations, Master Lin Feng. Thank you. Lin Feng extended his hand and shook it with a slight smile. There's also me. Master Ouyang said with a big grin. Congratulations, Master Lin Feng. Lin Feng laughed involuntarily and extended his hand to shake everyone's hand. This was the first time he had truly gotten to know everyone. Wang Bo Li Yuan by Yunfei. Almost all the weapon refiners who had participated in the finals had gathered around with friendly smiles. How could these weapon refiners, who usually had their eyes on the top of their heads, be so humble? The reason was actually very simple. Lin Feng glanced at his foster father from the corner of his eyes. At this moment, he was also surrounded. There were countless clans and forces that had come to curry favor with him. This was a sudden rise to fame. Hello. And good. Of course, of course. Lin Feng greeted the weapon refiners one by one. He did not refuse anyone who came. These were the most famous weapon refiners in the Vermilion Bird continent. All of them held high positions in the Union of Artificers. Many of them were the heads of the weapon refining clans, the first elders, and so on. Whether it was reputation or connections, they were all first class. Getting to know them was only beneficial to him. Humph. With deep anger, Lam Tok Ti, who was covered in a black cloak, had a cold glint in his eyes. He had not expected this outcome at all. He ground his teeth so hard that they creaked. How could Lam Tok Ti not know that Lin Feng had shocked the world in this crafting master competition and brought great honor to the Lin clan? He was almost certain that in less than 3 months, the Lin clan would surpass the Pang family and become the strongest weapon refining clan in Shiluo Prefecture. As long as Lin Zhen was not stupid, with the help of Lin Feng, he would be able to break through like a hot knife through butter. At this moment, Pang Hui's face was pale and his eyes were devoid of any spirit. He had suffered a double loss. He had caused Lin Feng to fail and even caused him to lose 0 points in the finals. Now that Lin Feng had won the crafting master competition, no one could stop the rise of the Lin clan. With Lin Feng's godly crafting skills, it was very likely that the Lin clan would squeeze into the top 3 weapon refining clans in the Vermilion Bird continent in the future. How could a mere Pang family compare? He had suffered a crushing defeat. Sitting on the ground, Pang Hui had lost everything. As a weapon refiner, no matter how unwilling he was to admit it, Lin Feng's crafting had indeed made him lose the will to resist. For a weapon refiner, this was truly a godly skill. Of course, everyone's personality was different. Pang Hui chose to give up and admit defeat, but Lam Tok Ti would not. His sinister and cold eyes were as ferocious and terrifying as ever, like a demon that had returned from hell. Exuding a deep killing intent, Lam Tok Ti turned around and left without any hesitation. A cold voice seeped out from between his teeth. "See you in 3 days, my little nephew. Enjoy the last 3 days of your life." Jia Jia. Lin Feng had successfully reached the top. Without any suspense, even Lady Nangong was convinced. Although losing 10 consecutive championships was a bit of a pity for Lady Nangong, she did not care too much about it. Being able to witness the birth of a miracle with her own eyes and having a worthy competitor was even better for Lady Nangong. Without a competitor, how could she improve? Lin Feng, with a total score of 6,550, ranked first. Madame Nangong, with a total score of 4,860, ranked second. Master Ouyang was ranked third, followed by Wang Bo, by Yunfei and Hunan. Finally, Pang Hui was ranked last. With a shocking 0 points and his actions towards Lin Feng in the finals, Pang Hui had gone for wool and come home shorn, causing his reputation to plummet. "Master Lin Feng! Master Lin Feng! Master Lin Feng!" An endless stream of cheers rang out from the crowd. Lin Feng's name had truly shaken the world this time, not as a cultivator, but as a craftsman. What a surprise! Lin Feng smiled as he stood on the podium and received his prize from Wang Shi. Although it wasn't his wish to be so high profile, but to be able to win the Armament Master competition this time, no matter if it was to himself or to the Lin clan, it would be of great benefit. He would be joining the Union of Artificers, one of the few superpowers in the human world. The problem of his identity, that he had always been worried about, would have a buffer. The Union of Artificers was a very reliable and solid backer. However, this was only his first stop in the Vermilion Bird realm. 3 days later, he was about to face a true challenge. He was going to face all the strong cultivators from the 9 counties of the Vermilion Bird continent. The main competition of the Vermilion Bird continent that was held once every 100 years. "I'm looking forward to it." Lin Feng's eyes sparkled as he clenched his fists. He also wanted to test the success of his cultivation over the past year. Today, he was very strong. Chapter 1037. The Weapon Craftsman competition had ended. However, the commotion it caused didn't subside for a long time. There were too many miracles in this competition. Although Lady Nangong lost in the end, her performance was enough to go down in history. Even the president of the Union of Artificers, Wang Shi, personally acknowledged Lady Nangong's status and strength after the competition and passed the position of president to Lady Nangong. Although Lady Nangong didn't win the competition 10 times in a row, she still became the youngest president in the history of the Zhuke Chao Refiners Union. The inauguration ceremony was held in the Vermilion Bird territory and attracted countless cultivators to watch and congratulate her. This was the most sensational event in the past 2 days. However, compared to Madame Nangong, the one who had truly earned a lot in this year's weapon refining master competition was a young man in his 20s. It was his first time participating in the weapon craftsman competition, but he overcame all obstacles and shocked the entire Vermilion Bird territory with his legendary performance. Even Lady Nangong was impressed by his performance. Master Lin Feng. Another master was born. This name spread across the entire Vermilion Bird territory like a swarm of locusts. 1 spread to 10, 10 spread to 100, and there was no one who didn't know about him. He could be said to be the new favorite of the Vermilion Bird territory. He was a super genius who could create legendary astral treasures, a top-notch weapon craftsman that was rarely seen in 10,000 years. At this moment, Lin Feng was indifferent. In the Lin clan's residence in the Vermilion Bird territory, Lin Feng slowly walked out. Lin de Go. Lin Yuma greeted him with a smile. Why is it only you, Yuma? Lin Feng looked around curiously. The large hall was empty. Except for Yuma, all the elders of the clan, including his adoptive father Lin Zhen and Master Lin Yen, were nowhere to be seen. He had no idea where they had gone. Lin Yuma smiled and pointed outside. Lin Feng couldn't help but laugh. It's already been 2 days. Why is it still so lively? When he and his family members returned to the encampment, the entire encampment was filled with people and carriages. He did not expect that after 2 days of seclusion, the situation did not seem to have improved at all. Yes, Master and Patriarch haven't rested for 2 days. They've been busy entertaining guests. Lin Yuma smiled sweetly. Even the elders of the clan haven't had time to rest. Strike while the iron is hot. These few days are especially important to the clan. Although the clan leader is busy, he is probably overjoyed. Lin Feng smiled. That's right, striking while the iron is hot is the key. He knew his adoptive father's character. To him, the clan was the most important thing. How could he not make good use of this opportunity when the east wind was strong? Many of the large forces of the Vermilion Bird continent were usually arrogant, but now they were lowering themselves to get acquainted with the Lin clan. As far as he knew, the Luo Chamber of Commerce, which had only sent the 7th son, Luo Qing, to the Lin clan to discuss cooperation, this time, the head of the Chamber of Commerce, Luo Li, had personally come to visit. One had to know that this was the largest and wealthiest chamber of commerce in the Vermilion Bird continent. No matter if it was connections or the strength of the clan, this was the best time to increase it. When the Vermilion Bird Challenge competition began tomorrow, his momentum would slowly dissipate. At that time, the effect would be greatly reduced. This opportunity could only come once, but not twice. Oh right, Lin de Go, did you make any progress in your 2 days of seclusion? Lin Yuma suddenly asked. No. Lin Feng shook his head, his eyes shining. In the past few days, I've made dozens of soaring phoenix wings, but it's still a bit lacking compared to the one I made during the Weapon Master competition. That feeling. Lin Feng's eyes lit up and he smiled helplessly. It's like a flash in the pan, I can't feel it anymore. He also wanted to strike while the iron was hot and perfectly replicate the legendary grade forging. However, it could only come once, but not twice. It was as if he had lost his memory and couldn't remember the feeling at all. The fusion of the flames of devouring and the flames of rebirth always lacked that indescribable feeling, causing the entire process to be imperfect. Even when all the materials were used up, he still couldn't find that feeling. This strike while the iron was hot was a failure. Sometimes a bit of luck was needed. Since you can make it once, there will be a second time and a third time. Lin de Go, you can definitely do it. Lin Yuma smiled faintly and blinked. I have good news for you, Lin de Go. Good news? Lin Feng sneered. Yes, the richest man in Luo Empire has personally come to visit. First, he wants to establish a cooperative relationship with the clan. Second, Lin Yuma's beautiful eyes flashed. He wants to buy the legendary grade, soaring phoenix wings that Lin de Go forged in the Weapon Refining Master competition. I see. Lin Feng suddenly smiled, but shook his head without hesitation. I'm not selling. Lin Yuma was slightly startled. Lin De Gu, do you know the price? Shaking his head with a smile, Lin Feng casually asked, how much? He was also curious as to what kind of price this richest man in Luo Empire could offer. Triple astral treasures, the middle grade was around 1,000 star crystals, the high grade was around 3,000 star crystals, and the top grade was not fixed, but it was at least over 10,000 star crystals. Lin Yuma lightly pursed her cherry lips and stretched out a slender finger. 1 million. Lin Feng burst into laughter. That's a lot. Once he made a move, it was several times more than his entire net worth. As expected of the richest man in Luo Empire. No, it's 10 million. Lin Yuma's eyes flashed as she said softly. It's worth that much? Lin Feng sneered. This price was far beyond his expectations. 10 million star crystals was a huge sum. Even though the Lin clan was quite wealthy in Shirluo County, the sum of all their liquid assets was probably not even 1/10 of 10 million star crystals. 10 million. The entire Lin clan was not worth this much. This is a priceless treasure. Lin Yuma's beautiful eyes flashed. In terms of function, it might not even be worth 1,000,000 star crystals, but in terms of commemoration value and the meaning of its existence, 10 million star crystals is the real deal. And this is only a preliminary price. I believe that if Lin De Gu really wants to sell it, it's possible to sell it for 20 or even 30 million star crystals. Is that so? Lin Feng smiled faintly. A light flashed in his hand, and the legendary soaring phoenix wings suddenly appeared in his hand. It was exquisitely carved and emitted a sparkling and translucent luster. The phoenix with its wings spread out seemed to come alive. As soon as it appeared, it instantly lit up the entire hall. Lin Yuma looked at this piece of art. Her beautiful eyes flashed, and her flawless face was filled with a moving luster. This was definitely a treasure of an artificer. Do you like it? Lin Feng looked at Lin Yuma and asked softly. Yes. The reply was as soft as a mosquito's. Lin Yuma looked at Lin Feng. Can I take a look, Lin De Gu? Lin Feng smiled and handed the soaring phoenix wings over. For you, Yuma. Just as she took the soaring phoenix wings, Lin Yuma's body trembled and her expression changed. She was shocked. Lin De Gu, actually, I wanted to give it to you when the artificer competition ended. Lin Feng smiled. But at that time, I wanted to see if I could refine it again, so it was late by 2 days. Looking at the incomparably shocked Yuma, Lin Feng's eyes flashed. He said softly, I'm sorry, Yuma. I owe you too much. I can't make it up to you in the past, but I hope that you can stay by my side in the future and let me take care of you. He owed Yuma too much. Because of him, Yuma's family was destroyed when she was young. Because of him, Yuma lost her childhood. The words betrothed before they were born, how heavy was that? Covering her cherry lips, Lin Yuma's eyes were filled with tears. She couldn't believe it. Looking at the lovely person in front of him, Lin Feng took a step forward and gently embraced her. Any words were empty. The body's reaction was the most direct and real. Feeling the trembling body, Lin Feng lowered his head and kissed those happy tears, the tip of that delicate nose, and finally those cherry lips. He felt the sweetness that belonged to both of them. At this moment, time seemed to stop. Happiness came too suddenly. To Lin Yuma, no words could compare to this kiss. Their lips parted, and with a moan, Lin Yuma's face was boiling hot. She buried her head in Lin Feng's chest, brimming with sweetness and happiness. Although the soaring phoenix wings in his hand was precious, it was nothing more than that. To Lin Yuma, it was the same for Lin Feng. Feeling the warmth of his lover's body, Lin Feng's heart also felt warm. Although the soaring phoenix wings was precious, he knew that Yuma liked it very much. After all, this was a treasure that any weapon refiner would want to own. Money was just a worldly possession. Suddenly, creak! The door was gently pushed open. An elegant figure slowly appeared. Lin Feng turned his head and looked at the person with surprise. It was Lady Nangong in a white dress. She was as elegant as ever. He didn't expect that she would come to visit. Looking at Lin Feng and Lin Yuma, Lady Nangong smiled indifferently. I seem to have come at the wrong time? Lin Yuma's face immediately blushed like a big apple. He nodded his head without saying anything. How could that be? Lady Nangong, we are honored by your presence. Please excuse us for not going out to meet you. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. He slowly said, This is my fiancée, Lin Yuma. Lady Nangong should have seen her before. Amen. Lightly nodding her head, Lady Nangong glanced at the soaring phoenix wings in Lin Yuma's hand. Her eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. She immediately understood and smiled faintly. Originally, I wanted to ask Lin Feng if you were willing to part with your treasure and sell this legendary grade soaring phoenix wings to my Zhuke Chao Refiners Union. But now it seems that it will be difficult. I'm sorry, Lady Nangong. Lin Feng apologized. It's fine. Lady Nangong's actions were still elegant. There was no change in her emotions at all. Although it's a bit of a pity, I still congratulate the two of you on your marriage. Thank you. Lin Feng and Lin Yuma smiled. Lady Nangong smiled. Her white dress brought out a refreshing aura. Her eyes flashed with a bright luster as she looked at Lin Feng. I won't beat around the bush. Actually, I'm here to take the liberty of visiting as a representative of the Zhuke Chao Refiners Union to invite Master Lin Feng to take on the position of Vice President. Ah! Lin Feng was stunned. He was going to take on the position of Vice President of the Union of Artificers? No way. Chapter 1038. Lady Nangong thinks too highly of me. Lin Feng shook his head with a smile. He was very clear about how strong he was. During the artificer competition, he only performed exceptionally, but when it came to artificing skills, he was still far from it. Not to mention that he was different from his younger brother Lin Yun. Managing an union of artificers? There was nothing he could do. Lin Feng, you don't need to be modest. Although you lack a lot of experience, it was President Wang Shi and Vice President Ouyang Qua who invited you to take up the position of Vice President. Lady Nangong's beautiful eyes flickered as she looked at Lin Feng, and I also agree. Lin Feng smiled bitterly and looked at Yuma. The latter just smiled faintly. Lady Nangong's white wrist moved slightly. Her white dress reflected Lady Nangong, making her look even more noble and elegant. Lady Nangong opened her red lips. Don't worry. Although President Wang Shi has left, the affairs of the Union will still be managed by Vice President Ouyang Qua. There won't be any big changes. Lin Feng, your position is the same as President Wang Shi. It's a fake title. You don't have the actual authority to manage the Union. It's just a title. A title? Lin Feng was surprised. Yes. Lady Nangong smiled elegantly. Of course, other than the authority to manage the Union, Lin Feng, you will enjoy all the privileges and status of Vice President. Lin Feng couldn't help but laugh. There was actually such a good thing. He only needed a fake title? But seeing Lady Nangong's words, it was obvious that she wasn't speaking without thinking. Slightly hesitating, Lin Feng couldn't make up his mind. She looked at Yuma beside her and a faint smile flashed across her beautiful face. It was as if she was telling herself that no matter what decision she made, she would support her. With a smile, Lin Feng's eyes flashed and he quickly made a decision. This matter was beneficial to him and had no disadvantages at all. Wasn't this the reason why he decided to participate in the Armament Master competition that day? Now, not only had he obtained the position of Honorary Elder, he had also obtained the position of Vice President, which was a pleasant surprise. Although he didn't know what the reason was, this was undoubtedly a good thing. With such good conditions, why not? Lady Nangong is so kind. If I continue to decline, it would be unreasonable. Lin Feng smiled and stretched out his hand. Please take care of me in the future. Welcome, Vice President Lin. Lady Nangong extended her hand with a smile. The two of them shook hands and smiled at each other. Vice President? Oh my God, are you serious? Unbelievable. As soon as Lady Nangong took a step forward, Lin Zhen and the others hurriedly stepped in and kept asking. After all, Lady Nangong's position was no longer the same as before. She was the president of the Zhuke Chao Refiners Union. Just this identity alone was extraordinary. It was even better than the saint who ruled over a county. What she held was absolute power. It's true. I agree, Lin Feng said with a smile. Looking at Lin Zhen, Lin Zhan, and Lin Yen, Lin Feng didn't hide anything. In the Lin clan, other than Yuma, he trusted these three people the most. Lin Zhen and the others looked at each other. After a few seconds of silence, they instantly bloomed with excitement. Lin Zhan even whistled, and his wolf howl resounded through the hall. He was obviously too excited. However, Lin Feng couldn't help but laugh. They seemed to be happier than he was when he became the vice president. This is a proper name for the family. Lin Yuma looked at Lin Feng and said softly. There's no need to worry about the Pang family playing any tricks. As long as you're here, Lin Dego, the Lin clan is worthy of being the #1 crafting family in Shirluo County. Lin Yuma's voice was crisp and pleasant, hitting the nail on the head. Lin Feng's eyes flashed, and he instantly understood. Thinking about it, it was indeed so. His identity as the vice president of the Zhuke Chao Refiners Union was extraordinary. Even the patriarch of the Pang family, Pang Yen, would have to respectfully greet him when he saw him. The Union of Artificers, which was renowned throughout the human world, that was a truly powerful backer. That's not all. Lin Zhen's eyes flashed with a hint of ambition. With Lin Feng as our backer, the future development of the Lin clan will be smooth sailing. The president and vice president of the Zhuke Chao Refiners Union have always been represented by the three crafting families of the Zhuke Chao Refiners Union, but this time it's an exception. In time, maybe the three crafting families of the Zhuke Chao Refiners will slowly become the 4 crafting families. Lin Zhen's eyes were deep as he clenched his right fist. Lin Zhan was also in high spirits as he shouted, "Well said, father." Lin Yen couldn't help but smile. He stroked his long beard and sighed. Not long ago, I thought that the Lin clan would sink for decades and never be able to rise again. Who would have thought that the clan's internal strife would actually reap the benefits after losing at the swings? It's really unexpected. Lin Feng smiled faintly. Everything is destined. Lin Feng thought to himself. Then, with a flip of his wrist, dozens of rays of light appeared in the air. They were transparent jade phoenix carvings. They were beautiful and looked like works of art. However, these jade phoenix carvings emitted a powerful aura. Below the jade carvings, there was an image of a phoenix that was deeply engraved in the eyes. Hiss! Hiss! The three of them were dumbfounded. This is... Lin Zhen turned pale with fright as he looked at Lin Feng. At this moment, only Lin Yuma was calm. He already knew. A total of 50 phoenix wings soaring heaven, foster father. Lin Feng smiled indifferently. Although they aren't of the legendary grade, they are all perfect grade Earth rank 3 astral treasures. They should be worth a lot of money. I believe that they should be of great help to the clan. Perfect grade. And they were all Earth rank 3 astral treasures. And they were Lin Feng's masterpiece, phoenix wings soaring heaven. Lin Zhen felt as if he was suffocating. After a while, he recovered and muttered, "It's not just great help, this. Too shocking." Refining a perfect grade was already a miracle in itself. To steadily refine a perfect grade was even harder to imagine. As far as Lin Zhen knew, there wasn't a single craftsman that could do it. Only in the best state, the most special feeling, and the extraordinary performance would the perfect grade occasionally appear. Even Lady Nangong didn't have this ability. Refining a perfect grade was something that could only be chanced upon. However, Lin Feng did it cleanly and efficiently. In a mere 2 days, he had refined 50 soaring phoenix wings. Every one of them was perfect grade. Just one of them was worth a lot. A total of 50. How much was this worth? Lin Zhen's mind was in a mess. Happiness came too suddenly. Wave after wave. After a while, Lin Zhen let out a long sigh. With you, Lin Feng, even if the clan doesn't want to rise, it's hard. Lin Zhen was speechless. Lin Yen and Lin Zhan both nodded in agreement. They looked at Lin Feng as if they were looking at a monster. Too abnormal. As if afraid that Lin Feng would go back on his word, Lady Nangong announced this shocking news that day. Although everyone was surprised, they didn't feel that it was too sudden. Lin Feng's amazing performance in the weapon refining master competition had already conquered all the weapon refiners. What Lin Feng didn't know was that crafting legendary weapons was the dream that every refiner pursued in their entire life, but they couldn't achieve it. But he had done it. Now, he had become a flagpole for all the weapon refiners in the Vermilion Bird continent. A living legend. And this was the reason why Lady Nangong, Wang Shi, and Ouyang Qua made an exception and recruited him. Lin Feng's reputation was too high. Born ordinary, it was even more attractive. In the current Vermilion Bird continent, Lin Feng's reputation was even higher than Lady Nangong's. Rather than saying that Lin Feng was recruited by the Union of Artificers, it was more accurate to say that Lin Feng had recruited himself. Whether it was for the Union of Artificers or for Lin Feng, this was a win-win result. However, it was a fake title after all, so they didn't hold a grand ceremony like Lady Nangong did. Even so, the news spread from 1 to 10, and from 10 to 100, and everyone knew about it. In a secluded valley in the Vermilion Bird territory. "Boss, what did Lord Netherking say?" a short-haired woman in white tights asked. Her eyes were bright. "The mission remains the same." The one who spoke was a man in white. "The target is related to the Union of Artificers. Although it's a bit troublesome, once we enter the Sparrow King Penitentiary, we won't be able to do anything. As long as we do it cleanly, it's fine." How depressing. If the target could become the vice president of the Union of Artificers, the price would be at least 3 times higher. A short man said sinisterly. "All right, cut the crap." The man in white was displeased. "Prepare yourselves. Tomorrow is the day of the Vermilion Bird Challenge. If you screw up the mission, don't even think about leaving alive." "Yes, boss," the short-haired woman and short man replied respectfully. A storm was brewing. The once-in-a-century Vermilion Bird Challenge was about to officially begin. Unlike the preliminary round, the main round of the Vermilion Bird Challenge was clean and tidy. All the participants would gather and enter the most mysterious place in the Vermilion Bird territory to compete for the final crown. Whether it was a blessing or a curse, no one knew. Everything was a mystery. Only the reward was public. It was a shocking reward. The winner would definitely become a saint. This was more precious than any material reward. The saint level was the realm that every star sector level martial artist dreamed of breaking through. Entering the saint level meant that one had truly stepped into the heavenly Tao of cultivation and had a glimpse of the heavenly will. It was not just an improvement in one's strength but also a sublimation of one's life, stepping into a new stage. Who wouldn't want to? 3 opponents. The first one is Shi Jixin from the Aries constellation in the Shirluo Commandery. The second one is also the vice president of the Union of Artificers in the Shirluo Commandery, Lin Feng. Hovering in the air, it was the gray-robed youth. The scorpion mark on his forehead flickered with golden light. The gray-robed youth's eyes sparkled with battle intent, and his aura was majestic. The 2 daggers at his waist clanged fiercely, as if they could no longer suppress the surging power of his aura. The gray-robed youth's brows were tightly furrowed, and his veins were faintly visible. These two are not the biggest obstacle. They're just a little threat. The real trouble is him, Thousand Mountains Commandery, Gemini Constellation, Thousand Love Emperor. I will never lose. Clenching his fists, the gray-robed youth's eyes were sharp. Chapter 1039. The Boundless Ocean. The waves were turbulent and the wind howled. The violent aura of the demon clan could be seen everywhere, and it was getting more and more intense. However, there was no sign of it. It felt like it was as if a hidden danger was about to arrive. Demon Emperor Island. This was the forbidden land of the demon clan. It was shrouded in thick fog and had a sense of mystery. Countless corpses of the demon clan's ancestors were buried on Demon Emperor Island. It was also because of this that Demon Emperor Island was not only a forbidden land of the demon clan, but also a sacred ground, a supreme existence. Be it the 4 royal clans, the 5 royal clans, or the 12 guardian demon stars, none of them dared to be presumptuous on Demon Emperor Island. At this moment, the experts of the demon clan were gathered, and the atmosphere was suffocating. The demon emperors of the 4 royal clans, the Blood Tiger clan, the Demon Fox clan, the Violent Bear clan, and the Dragon Bull clan, were seated at the top. The demon kings of the 5 royal clans, the Celestial Dog clan, the Dragon Elephant Turtle clan, the Diamond Ant clan, the 5-clawed Golden Dragon clan, and the 2-faced Lion clan were seated at the bottom. 21 demon clans. None of them were at the saint level, and all of them were at the Sage King level. Not only were the strongest forces of the demon clan gathered here, but it was also the most powerful organization of the demon clan. Although the 4 demon emperors were the most powerful in the demon clan, there were still many branches of the demon clan that were attached to the 5 royal clans. The 12 guardian demon stars were also countless, and they formed a sphere of influence. It was as if they were everywhere, dividing the entire vast sea. Usually, they did not interfere with each other, but now there must be something important for them to gather here. It has been 1,000,000 years since the last war of liches and demons. The development of the 3 human clans has greatly increased the threat, and now they are constantly provoking us demon clans. We must not let them become stronger. The one who spoke was the demon emperor of the Blood Tiger clan, Kuei Tianyuan. His tiger eyes were burning. The Blood Tiger clan had suffered a huge blow this time, and Kuei Tianyuan was furious, but he could no longer tolerate it. I have discussed this matter with the other 3 demon emperors, and they have unanimously agreed. What do you think? The 5 demon kings and the 12 guardian demon stars were not surprised. In fact, they knew that the 3rd war of liches and demons would break out sooner or later. The human race and the demon race were as incompatible as fire and water. 2 consecutive battles had ended with both sides suffering great losses. It was inevitable that a victor would be decided. The Douling world only needed 1 master. A mountain cannot accommodate 2 tigers. I agree. War with the human race is unavoidable. Humph, it's time for these lowly ants to disappear. Kill them all. There were unanimous sighs of admiration, and no one objected. This was especially true for the Celestial Dog clan. They had already suffered a loss once, and now their eyes were shining with a fierce light. The demon race was naturally warlike, and after the 2 wars between the shamans and demons, they had accumulated a lot of hatred. If they didn't get rid of the human race, they would be their natural enemy. The 4th emperor nodded. He wasn't surprised by this situation. After all, it was within his expectations. However, the problem was, who would lead the entire demon race? The branches were huge, and the number of demon experts was innumerable. Even among the 4 demon emperors, it would not be easy for them to compromise. As demon emperors, How could they allow their clansmen to be controlled by other demon emperors? As for the other royal families and the 12 demon stars, it was the same. They were all sage kings, and the strength of their bloodlines was very small. This war between the shamans and demons can no longer be controlled by the 4th emperor, the demon king of the 5-clawed golden dragon clan said in a deep voice. Yes, because of your disagreement, the demon race was like a plate of loose sand in the previous war between the shamans and demons. We obviously had a great advantage, but we gave it away, the demon king of the 2-faced lion clan said. I agree. I agree too. I completely agree. There were sounds of agreement. The 5 demon kings and the 12 demon stars stood on the same side. In an instant, the 4 demon emperors' expressions turned ugly. However, what the demons said was indeed the truth. It was difficult to persuade everyone. In the previous war between the shamans and demons, the demon race's great advantage was ruined just like that. The 4 emperors' mistake in leading the demon race definitely took most of the blame. One had to know that at that time the demon race was far more powerful than the 3 major human races. However, in the end, it ended in a draw. Why don't the 21 demon races form an alliance and vote on every important decision? The demon king of the Fox clan said with a charming aura. Her eyes flickered. Among the 4 emperors, she was the most cunning one. Oh! The demon kings and demon stars whispered to each other, discussing non-stop. This method won't work. Yes, how is it different from your 4 emperors' alliance? At that time, the differences will be even greater. That's right, it's hard to say if they have ulterior motives and don't put in effort. Being rejected directly, the demon king of the Fox clan, Fox Princess' expression turned ugly. She snorted. Oh, then what do you want? Same as the human race, find a suitable leader. That's right, when the time comes, we will form an alliance with blood. All the demons will listen to the leader's orders and cannot disobey. Only then can the strength of the demon race be united. The 4 emperors looked at each other and frowned. The method is good, but who will be the leader? The demon king of the Dragon Bull clan nodded thoughtfully. That's right, I think whoever is the leader will not be convinced, right? The demon king of the Fox clan said disdainfully as she played with her sharp fingers. If they are not convinced, then beat them until they are. The demon king of the 2-faced lion clan shouted. I Zongyong am the most simple. I will submit to whoever can defeat me as the leader. Well said. The demon king of the 5-clawed golden dragon clan laughed. Our demon race values strength the most. How about this? 2 months later, we will hold a leader competition here. Whoever is the strongest will be the leader. What do you all think? Hua. In an instant, it caused a wave of whispers. But soon, voices of agreement sounded one after another. The eyes of the demons all lit up. I agree. I agree too. This suggestion is exactly what I want. It's very fair. The 5 demon kings and the 12 demon stars all agreed. Those who did not express their opinions could not find a reason to object. The demon race had always valued strength above all. Good, I agree too. The demon king of the Violent Bear clan, one of the 4 demon kings, finally spoke. I have no objections. The demon king of the Blood Tiger clan, Kuei Tianyuan, nodded. Seeing that the 2 big shots had agreed, Fox Princess of the Demon Fox clan's eyes flickered, but she knew that she couldn't object. Then it's decided. The demon king of the Dragon Bull clan stood up. 2 months later, we will fight based on strength. We will swear blood as the alliance, and the winner will be the leader. At that time, whoever objects will be seen as a traitor of the demon race. Okay. All the demons shouted in unison. The atmosphere in the Vermilion Bird realm was very lively. The Vermilion Bird Challenge competition was about to begin. Close to 20,000 cosmic realm states from the 9 states of the Vermilion Bird continent were gathered here. Including the 9,000 who entered through the preliminaries, there were close to 10,000 true cosmic realm states who did not need to participate in the preliminaries. A small portion of them had already reached the peak of the cosmic realm state. Of course, the competition was not purely based on strength. Otherwise, how could these 9,000 warriors who passed the preliminaries compete with those peak cosmic realm states? Other than a few people, the rest were not even on the same level. Be careful, Lin De Go. Lin Yuma's eyes flashed with worry. Don't worry, I will definitely return safely. Lin Feng smiled and said softly, when I return this time, I will bring Qianqian over. Then, we will return to the kingdom of Maru together. Anijam. Lin Yuma's face flushed. The meaning of Lin Feng's words was very clear. Suddenly, TSK, you two are so lovey-dovey. Lin Zhan's untimely appearance ruined the atmosphere. Lin Zhan raised his eyebrows and winked at Lin Feng. I say, brother, you have good means. You actually managed to get the #1 beauty of our Shirluo prefecture. Many young masters will have their hearts broken. You actually found me a sister-in-law when I wasn't around. Lin Zhan shook his head with a helpless expression. Yuma smiled faintly, and the atmosphere was harmonious. You brat, just mind your own business. Lin Zhan snapped his fingers and hit Lin Zhan's head. As his adoptive father, I haven't even bothered with Lin Feng's affairs. Since when is it your turn to care? Father! Lin Zhan held his head and pretended to be in pain. Go away. Lin Zhan frowned and waved his hand. He then looked at Lin Feng and said seriously, the Vermilion Bird Challenge this time is very dangerous. Lady Nangong asked me to tell you. As he spoke, he grabbed Lin Feng's hand. Lin Zhan gave him a look. You must be careful. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. He felt a ball of paper being stuffed into his hand. Lady Nangong? I understand, adoptive father. Lin Feng nodded and smiled. He understood that there was something that Lin Zhan didn't want to say in front of Yuma so that she wouldn't worry. Don't worry, father. I will protect brother Lin. Lin Zhan patted his chest and said loudly. You? Lin Zhan glared at Lin Zhan. Don't be a burden. I'm going to burn incense and pray to Buddha. As he spoke, he sighed. Lin Zhan looked at Lin Feng and said softly, Lin Feng, if possible, help me look after your big brother. Don't let anything happen to him. I will. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. Even if adoptive father didn't ask, he wouldn't let anything happen to Lin Zhan. This was because Lin Zhan really treated him like a brother. He was honest and didn't have any ulterior motives. Lin Zhan had helped him a lot in the past. When a person advances a foot, I advance 10 feet. After saying goodbye to Lin Zhan and Lin Yuma with a smile, Lin Feng and Lin Zhan left together. After passing through a tunnel and a teleportation door, the light in front of them flashed rapidly. They instantly entered a mysterious place. Such dense spirit chi. Lin Feng said softly. Wow, so many people. Lin Zhan was surprised. Indeed, there were quite a lot of people. Lin Feng's eyes sparkled as he looked forward. There were thousands of people gathered here. All of them were cosmic sector-level existences. Many of them even had peak cosmic sector-level strength. His chest rose and fell slightly. In an instant, Lin Feng looked forward and saw a gray-robed youth. So familiar! It's him? Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Although his appearance was vague, he could recognize his aura. There was no way he would be wrong. It was an aura of power that moved his heart. He was definitely not an ordinary cosmic sector-level powerhouse. At this moment, the gray-robed youth smiled faintly and disappeared. Lin Feng's eyes narrowed. Almost instantly, the gray-robed youth appeared in front of him. Hello, Hanfei County, Jin Ji. The gray-robed youth reached out his right hand. Shirluo County, Lin Feng. Lin Feng reached out to shake his hand. Their eyes met, flickering with a glimmer of light. A very strong opponent. Chapter 1040. 3 days ago, in the vast crowd, he could feel it. Now that he was so close, this feeling was even stronger. This gray-clothed youth, Jinji, had terrifying strength. That feeling was stronger than any of the star sector-level experts he had seen in Shirluo Prefecture, including Shi Jixin and one of the top 10 experts, Huaidao. He felt that he was only slightly weaker than Senior Glenoid Scale, who he had been fighting with in the Thousand Snake Cave for the past 3 months, and Jinji had not reached the saint level. If there is a chance, let's meet at the Sparrow King prison. Jinji smiled faintly, his eyes flashing. Okay. Lin Feng also looked at Jinji, his eyes shining. From his aura, he could vaguely feel a familiar feeling like déjà vu. Yes, he was very similar to Shi Jixin. Could it be he is the same as Shi Jixin, a member of the 12 royal constellations? Lin Feng shivered, a golden light flashed in front of his eyes. Through the fringe on Jinji's forehead, he could faintly see a faint golden mark, very similar to Shi Jixin's. Just that the shape was different. But in an instant, Jinji turned around and left with a faintly discernible smile. He should be from the 12 royal constellations, Scorpio constellation. Lin Feng pondered in his heart and instantly understood. The 12 royal constellations were publicly recognized as the strongest natal constellations. Once awakened, their cultivation speed would be extremely fast, and they would display superior strength at the beginning. This point could be seen from Shi Jixin, who had such terrifying strength at such a young age. He still clearly remembered the battle at the Greenfield Immortal Track, where Shi Jixin had activated all her strength. How terrifying! With the strength of one person, she had almost turned the entire situation around. This was a royal constellation. In front of him, another one appeared. That's right, although royal constellations are rare, the ones gathered this time are the elites of the entire Vermilion Bird continent. Who knows, there might be other royal constellations at any moment. Lin Feng smiled valiantly, but he was not afraid and laughed instead. Only with opponents there would be competition, and only then could one's strength improve. This was not necessarily a bad thing. Watching Jinji leave, the light in Lin Feng's eyes gradually dimmed. Lin Feng turned his head to look at Lin Zhan. Just as he was about to speak, he saw that Lin Zhan's face was pale and cold sweat was dripping from his forehead. Lin Feng couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong, big brother?" Lin Zhan furrowed his brows slightly and stared at Lin Feng for a full 2 seconds before saying softly, "Brother Lin, you didn't feel the pressure of that Jinji's aura just now?" Aura pressure? Lin Feng was startled. He didn't feel anything from head to toe. Now that he thought about it, he could even face a saint. What effect would a mere peak cosmic sector level's aura have on him? However, Lin Zhan was different. Although he improved quite a bit this year, he was only a level 4 cosmic realm state now. There was quite a gap. "Brother Lin, you're really a little monster." Lin Zhan stared at him for a long time and sighed. His emotions were mixed with envy and admiration. He watched as Lin Feng broke through to the cosmic sector level, but he didn't expect that in just over a year Lin Feng actually reached the peak of the cosmic sector level. This cultivation speed was too shocking and terrifying. Furthermore, Lin Feng's strength was real and there was nothing fake about it at all. Lin Feng knew what his big brother was thinking. He smiled and said softly, "I was just lucky enough to be 1 step ahead of you. With your talent, as long as you cultivate hard, reaching the peak of the cosmic sector level is just around the corner. You might even break through to the saint level earlier than me." It wasn't a compliment. With the Star Sky pupil, Lin Zhan's talent was second only to himself in the family. Even Yuma couldn't compare to him. Well said. Lin Zhan's eyes were burning. "My goal since I was young has been to break through and become a martial saint." His voice was deafening. It was enough to show Lin Zhan's determination. Lin Feng knew very well that his big brother was speaking the truth. Although he was usually carefree, he was very meticulous when it came to cultivation. There won't be a problem, big brother. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. As soon as he said that, his eyes lit up. He saw that not far away, someone was looking at him. It was very familiar. Shi Jixin. Lin Feng smiled and looked at Lin Zhan. Let's go, big brother. Let's go say hello to someone we know. An acquaintance? Lin Zhan was surprised. He didn't understand. However, when he saw Lin Feng walk forwards, he didn't think too much and just followed. Miss Jixin. Lin Feng walked over with a carefree smile. His eyes flashed. There were many familiar faces beside Shi Jixin. Hua Yidao, Huawei, Xingren. He had seen them before. There were a few that he hadn't seen before, but he knew that they were extraordinary. Lin Feng wasn't surprised. He knew Shi Jixin's identity very well. Don't call me Mississippi. Just call me Jixin, Shi Jixin said softly, pretending to be unhappy. Lin Feng smiled faintly and replied, He and Shi Jixin had become friends after fighting. They had gone through thick and thin together in the immortal track of the green field. He hadn't seen this little girl for a year. Now, she was slim and elegant. She had changed 18 times between childhood and womanhood. Her original immaturity had faded a lot, and she was brimming with youth. She was like a blooming flower. However, he wasn't surprised. Back then, Shi Jixin's potential had exploded. He had seen her fully mature back then. What more now? By the way, I wanted to come with you today, but when I went to the Lin clan, they said that you left 3 days ago. Shi Jixin's beautiful eyes flashed. She asked curiously, Why did you come to the Vermilion Bird territory 3 days in advance? Is there anything fun here? Lin Feng was speechless. Ha ha ha! A burst of hearty laughter rang out. It was Hua Yidao. Uncle Hua, what are you laughing about? Shi Jixin pouted. Hua Yidao's tiger-like eyes glanced at Lin Feng, then turned to Shi Jixin. He said with a smile, Miss Jixin really doesn't pay attention to what's going on outside. So much has happened in the Vermilion Bird province these past 2 days, yet you don't know anything about it? What happened? Shi Jixin was startled. Is it related to Lin Feng? It's more than that, Hua Yidao said casually. Master Lin Feng is the main character. He's amazing. Master Lin Feng? Shi Jixin's big eyes were even more puzzled. She looked around at the crowd and saw that they weren't surprised at all. Obviously, she was the only one who didn't know. Her small face instantly reddened. Shi Jixin stomped her feet and said, Uncle Hua, don't keep me in suspense. Hurry up and tell me. Let me tell you, senior sister, Hua Wei said with a smile. Lin Feng. No, Master Lin Feng won the weapon craftsman competition in one fell swoop. I heard that he even set countless records. In particular, he refined the legendary grade that only exists in legends. It's even more talked about. As he spoke, Hua Wei stared at Lin Feng with deep surprise and curiosity. Is the weapon craftsman competition very strong? Shi Jixin asked curiously. Even stronger than Pang Yen, the #1 weapon craftsman family in Shiluo County? Pang Yen? Everyone couldn't help but smile. The Pang family is no longer the #1 weapon craftsman family in Shiluo County, Hua Yidao said with a smile. Because of Master Lin Feng, the Lin clan has now squeezed out the Pang family and become the #1 weapon craftsman family in Shiluo County. Their fame and reputation are unparalleled. Let's put it this way. If Pang Yen sees Lin Feng face to face now, he has to salute and respectfully call out, Master Lin Feng. Shi Jixin finally understood. She covered her mouth with both hands and murmured in disbelief, Lin Feng, you know how to refine weapons? Why didn't I know? I know a thing or two. Lin Feng said with a smile. He wasn't being modest. It was just that he only knew how to refine a few weapons. To put it nicely, he was an expert in one, but to put it bluntly, he only knew these 3 skills. Even he was shameless to call himself a master. Master Lin Feng is really modest. As the vice president of the Zhuke Chao Refiners Union, if he only knows a thing or two about refining weapons, then other weapon craftsmen probably know nothing about it. The voice was magnetic. Lin Feng looked over. It was a man in black. His eyes were flashing, and he maintained a faint smile. The vice president of the Zhuke Chao Refiners Union? Shi Jixin was shocked. Only at this moment did she truly understand how powerful Lin Feng was. She didn't know anything else, but who didn't know the status and strength of the Union of Artificers? Even her father, a saint, was only on equal footing with the vice president of the Zhuke Chao Refiners Union. Lin Feng had truly shocked her to the core. He hid it so well. This is... Lin Feng looked at the man in black. Although he had never seen him before, his aura made him feel a sense of danger. He didn't reveal his strength, but his intuition would never be wrong. He was even more terrifying than Hua Yidao. I forgot to introduce myself. Call me Gui Gu, Master Lin Feng. The man in black, Gui Gu, maintained a faint smile and extended his right hand in a friendly manner. Hello. Lin Feng shook his hand. Gui Gu's hand was a little cold, but it was steady and powerful. This time, Lin Zhan tactfully came up. Brother, Gui Gu and Hua Yidao are both among the top 10 in Shiluo County, but their ranking is higher. 10 years ago, they were in the top 3. Now, they are probably the strongest cosmic realm existences in Shiluo County. The strongest cosmic realm existences in Shiluo County. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He looked at the Ghost Valley and understood what was going on. Nice to meet you. Gui Gu nodded and smiled. At this time, the few peak cosmic realm existences beside Gui Gu also came up and introduced themselves. Each of them squeezed out a smile and didn't have the demeanor of an expert at all. However, this made Lin Feng smile bitterly. He didn't expect himself to be so popular now. He also understood that all of this was caused by the title of Master. In the Douling world, blacksmiths had a supreme status, especially those who were at the top of the pyramid, who were superior to the others. Innate treasures were rare after all, and they might not be suitable for everyone. Forgers who could refine postnatal treasures were naturally sought after. Who didn't want to have a handy weapon and treasure? Who wouldn't want to be strong enough? Not to mention, his current status was no longer the same as before. But that was then, and this was now. Chapter 1041. After exchanging pleasantries, Lin Feng quickly blended into the crowd. Countless cosmic sector states gathered in groups of 2s and 3s, each with their own circle. With Lin Feng's original identity, it was naturally impossible for him to enter the strongest circle in Shiluo Prefecture, but now it was more than enough. Lin Feng's identity was so precious that he was already at the top of the pyramid among all the cosmic sector states present. This could be seen from the number of cosmic sector states who came to make friends with him. Many peak cosmic sector states came forward to greet him, not feeling embarrassed at all. Lin Feng greeted them one by one with a smile, and even Lin Zhan beside him raised his head, feeling very proud. Many surrounding martial artists looked over and whispered with envy, reverence, and other gazes, but not everyone had the right to come forward and greet him. By the way, do you know Jin Ji from Hanfei Prefecture? Lin Feng asked curiously. His memory of the gray-clothed youth was still fresh in his mind. He felt that he was even more terrifying than the strongest cosmic sector state martial artist in Shiluo Prefecture, Gui Gu. These Shiluo Prefecture powerhouses were all knowledgeable and experienced, so perhaps they would know some information about him. Jin Ji. Everyone was startled, and in an instant, it was as if time had stopped, and it became quiet. Lin Feng exclaimed softly, but he felt that something was wrong. His eyes flashed, and he saw that everyone's eyes were focused on Shirjishin, as if what was the relationship between the two of them? Why are you all looking at me? I don't even know him. Shirjishin said coquettishly, her little face blushing. Seeing Shirjishin deny it, Lin Feng was even more curious. With such an expression and reaction, who would believe that Shirjishin did not know Jin Ji? However, when he looked at the crowd and saw Shirjishin's expression, they all stuttered and refused to speak, as if they didn't want to be the first to offend this young miss. Huawei even winked at him, implying something. The atmosphere became extremely strange, and there was an indescribable feeling. All right, pretend I didn't ask. Lin Feng smiled indifferently, but there was no point in getting to the bottom of it. His eyes flashed, and Lin Feng immediately changed the topic. How is the process of the Vermilion Bird Challenge? He had been in the kingdom of Maru all this time, so he really didn't know anything about the Vermilion Bird Challenge. Even in the Refining Master competition, he had to ask Wang Mu to know a thing or two. But even if he didn't know, everyone else definitely knew. The process is actually very simple. You can do whatever you want. Gui Gu immediately opened his mouth and spoke. He tactfully changed the topic and threw the awkwardness from earlier to the back of his mind. Free play. Lin Feng felt a little incredulous. The preliminaries of the Vermilion Bird Challenge competition were one after another with rules and regulations. But when it came to the main competition, how could it be so bizarre? Actually, Lin Feng, you don't have to care too much about this. In fact, the Vermilion Bird Challenge competition is not a competition of strength. You can treat it as a trial. Hua Yidao continued, if it's really a competition of strength, there's no need to hold the preliminaries at all. It's purely a waste of time. Lin Feng nodded. That was indeed the case. The elites that were selected through the preliminaries were mostly Cosmic Sector State Stage 1 to Stage 3. In the preliminaries, no one could stop them. But here, they had to face Cosmic Sector State Stage 8, Stage 9, and even peak Cosmic Sector State existences. How could they compete? In this land of miracles, there are countless secrets, treasures, luck, and fate. Everything exists. Hua Yidao said slowly, how much each martial artist can obtain depends on their own fortune. Simply put, there are three types of existences in the land of miracles. They are ancient ruins, trial halls, and ancient forbidden grounds. I'd like to hear more. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. Hua Yidao nodded and patiently explained. Among the three types, ancient ruins are the least dangerous. There are usually some natural treasures and even Xiantian treasures. There are also some special cultivation grounds that can allow a martial artist's strength to increase by leaps and bounds. In this land of miracles, the number of ancient ruins is the highest. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He had some thoughts in his mind. As for the trial halls, there are trials set up by saints and sacred kings. The danger level is medium, and it's not easy to pass through safely. But once you pass the trial, you have the chance to become a disciple of a saint or sacred king. If you score high in the trial, it's common to directly become a disciple. So that was it. No wonder there were rounds of preliminaries and layers of selection. Lin Feng nodded. At this moment, he suddenly understood. The trial halls were actually a way for saints to choose their disciples. Choosing a disciple naturally wasn't based on strength. Instead, it was based on talent. It didn't matter if one's strength was slightly weaker. It also didn't matter if one didn't obtain anything in the ancient ruins. As long as one's talent was good enough, one could enter the trial halls and be chosen by a saint or sacred king. Then, one would become a phoenix. One's future was bright. In the future, it would only be a matter of time before he became a saint. Ancient Forbidden Grounds. I heard that this year, an ancient forbidden ground will open? Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Yes, it's the Sparrow King prison. Hua Yidao's eyes were deep. In the land of miracles, an ancient forbidden ground will send out a sign in advance. It's a rare occurrence that happens once in 10,000 years. This is the signal that a martial artist will become a saint. But in the land of miracles, there isn't only one ancient forbidden ground. In the past, it would only open after a martial artist touches it. And the most dangerous one is the ancient forbidden ground. Lin Feng's heart was moved. He finally understood a little about the Vermilion Bird Challenge. Indeed, as Hua Yidao said, the ancient forbidden ground was the most dangerous. But there was always a chance. The more dangerous a place was, the greater the opportunity. How could an ancient forbidden ground be ordinary? In the past, only martial artists who touched it by chance could enter the ancient forbidden ground. But this time, everyone can enter the Sparrow King prison. Hua Yidao's eyes flashed brightly. Becoming a saint is the dream of every star sector level martial artist. Even if they lose their lives, they will have no regrets. As long as they can safely pass through the Sparrow King prison, they will definitely become a saint. And even if they can't become a saint, the opportunities in the Sparrow King prison are thousands of times better than the ancient ruins. This is a rare opportunity that only comes once in 10,000 years. Hua Yidao's words were firm and sonorous. Not only him, but everyone's eyes were shining brightly. Who didn't want to become a saint? Lin Feng knew very well that there was a saying in the Douling world: everyone below the saint realm was an ant. Only the saint realm was the ruler of the Douling world. Time passed by slowly. At this moment, there were more and more martial artists in the land of miracles. There was not much time left before the Vermilion Bird Challenge competition officially began. Lin Feng had learned a lot of useful information from chatting with the cultivators of Shiluo Prefecture. In addition to the structure of the Land of Miracles and the process of the previous Vermilion Bird Challenge, he had even heard a little about the cultivators from the various prefectures participating in this year's competition. Lu Rufeng from Huangguan County, Fei Yen from Jinghua County, Yin Sanyang from Quangren County. Each and every one of them was an outstanding and famous figure in their respective counties. These are all martial artists who have been famous for a long time. Hua Yidao's eyes shone brightly as he said seriously, "There are also many rising stars who came aggressively. Although they are not as famous as these martial artists, their strength is probably unfathomable and difficult to estimate." Then, Hua Yidao smiled meaningfully. "For example, you, Lin Feng." "Me?" Lin Feng smiled but did not answer. Hua Yidao's eyes flashed as he continued. "For example, Miss Jixin and Jin Ji, who you mentioned just now, are all outstanding martial artists. Lin Feng, you must remember the one who is recognized as the strongest among them." Hua Yidao's eyes flashed as he said in a deep voice, "Thousand Mountain Counties, Thousand Love Emperor." Thousand Love Emperor. Lin Feng's eyes shone as he softly muttered this neutral name. He did not know whether it was a man or a woman. Like Miss Jixin, she belongs to the Gemini constellation of the 12 Royal Dao constellations. She just turned 18 this year. Hua Yidao's expression was serious. She is known as the star sector level martial artist who is most likely to pass the Sparrow King prison and become a saint in this Vermilion Bird Challenge competition. Lin Feng nodded as he firmly remembered it in his heart. For Hua Yidao to give such an evaluation, she was definitely not an ordinary person. Thousand Love Emperor. As expected, the Vermilion Bird Challenge competition is really interesting. Lin Feng's lips curled into a smile as he clenched his fists. Instead of being afraid, he laughed as his blood boiled. It was interesting because there were opponents. While they were talking, boom! In the sky, a bright red flame rose and instantly enveloped the sky. A strange scene suddenly appeared. It was like a signal, a message. Along with the release of an intense fire element, a shocking aura instantly descended. It was violent and terrifying. Pa, pa, pa. Behind him, the light door leading to the Land of Miracles was completely shut and locked. Lin Feng's heart trembled slightly as he immediately looked at the void. The feeling was very clear. It's the aura of a saint. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. He was not affected at all. To him, the pressure of a saint no longer had any effect. In the Thousand Snake Cave, he had sparred with Senior Glenoid Scale from time to time. He had long since adapted to this kind of pressure. Boom! Like a ball of flame exploding, the aura was shocking. In midair, a man dressed in red appeared in a split second. He had an imposing aura that was neither angry nor intimidating as he looked down on everyone. That pair of bright and resplendent eyes emitted boundless power, just like the stars in the sky. As his gaze swept across, everyone immediately knelt down on one knee. "Greetings, King Yen," Qi Liang's voice sounded. Lin Feng also knelt down on one knee like everyone else. This was the etiquette of the Douling world, the respect for a saint. King Yen. This name was too familiar. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly as he stared at the flame-like man in midair. His heart was unsettled. He was the king of the Vermilion Bird Continent. When he first stepped into the Vermilion Bird Continent, he had already heard of this name. He did not expect to see it with his own eyes today. In the short span of a few years, he had gone from being an outsider who knew nothing to being an outsider, to now he was also a peak cosmic sector-level existence. In time, he would definitely become a saint, just like him in front of him. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. He was full of confidence. One figure after another tore through the air like sharp arrows, speeding in all directions. "Until we meet again, Master Lin Feng." "Farewell, Master Lin Feng." "Good luck." Everyone said their goodbyes. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. In an instant, most of the people had left. They couldn't wait to start their own journeys. However, Lin Feng's eyes were bright, but he wasn't in a hurry. He had at least a year's time, so he didn't need to rush. Looking at the crowd, he saw that almost all of them were moving alone. Previously they had gathered in groups, but now they were scattered like birds. "Strange, why are they all moving alone?" Lin Feng asked curiously. "Isn't it good to have more people?" "Of course it's not good. What one can obtain after entering the ancient ruins depends on one's luck. Only one cultivator can enter the training hall at a time. More people will reduce the benefits by more than half," Shi Jixin said slowly with her eyes wide open. Lin Feng suddenly understood. Right, the Vermilion Bird Challenge didn't care about teamwork. "Haha, I'm leaving too, Master Lin Feng." Hearty laughter came from beside him. Lin Feng turned his head and saw Lin Zhan winking at him. "Big brother, you," Lin Feng said softly. "Don't worry, brother. I know my limits. I won't enter the Sparrow King prison." Lin Zhan smiled and patted Lin Feng's shoulder. "You too. Be careful." "Okay." Lin Feng nodded. He knew what Lin Zhan meant. He didn't want to drag him down. Watching Lin Zhan's figure disappear, Lin Feng's eyes flickered. It wasn't that he didn't want to keep Lin Zhan, but it was very likely that he would be in danger. "I'm leaving too. Lin Feng, see you at the Sparrow King prison." Shi Jixin smiled. She didn't seem nervous at all. She felt like she was going on a scenic tour. She waved goodbye. In fact, with Shi Jixin's strength, she didn't need to worry too much. After watching Shi Jixin leave, the crowd disappeared. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. What his foster father said before he left appeared in his mind: "You must be careful." When he said this, his foster father's expression was very serious. It wasn't an ordinary warning. "Moreover, Pa." Lin Feng took out the paper ball. His eyes flashed with a hint of seriousness. This was what Lady Nangong asked his foster father to pass to him. Lin Feng slowly opened it. As he looked at the beautiful handwriting on it, he could sense a different kind of message. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly as he frowned. White Cloth Association, the largest underground assassin organization in the Vermilion Bird Continent. Lin Feng muttered to himself as he looked through the list again. Confirmed. It was signed by Lady Nangong. The Blacksmith Alliance is indeed very powerful, to be able to receive such secret information. Lin Feng thought to himself, but his expression was very calm. What did he have to fear? Assassinate him? Only Star Sector level warriors could enter the land of miracles. The strongest was only a peak Star Sector level. He had the ability to fight against them. Moreover, what kind of assassination had he not seen since he was young? In this aspect, he was very experienced. Now that he knew that someone wanted to harm him, he could be more careful. Want to kill him? How could it be so easy? Letting Big Brother go first was indeed the right choice. Lin Feng thought. If Big Brother was implicated because of him, that wouldn't be what he wanted. This matter is most likely related to Lam Tok Ti. Lin Feng's eyes were cold. He was very clear. The only one who hated him to the core was Lam Tok Ti. Last time, he killed Hong Jiang and ruined Lam Tok Ti's plot. With his personality, how could he give up so easily? He had been like a venomous snake all this time. It turned out that he had already set up an inescapable net and was waiting for him. Perhaps, he's also one of the participants this time. Lin Feng's eyes were clear. Lam Tok Ti was not 100 years old yet. In other words, he had never participated in the Vermilion Bird Challenge. His strength had long surpassed Star Sector level 3. Therefore, he was qualified to participate in the Vermilion Bird Challenge. If he's also in the Land of Miracles, that would be great. If you can come in, don't even think about leaving. Lin Feng's eyes flashed coldly, and the ball of paper in his hand turned into ashes. He would never tolerate and nurture a traitor. Following the crowd, a figure in a black cloak was rushing forward. His eyes were as cold as a wolf's, and they were filled with a sharp light. It was Lam Tok Ti. Here, the heavens and the earth won't help. Lin Feng, I'll see how you die. A cold murderous intent flashed across Lam Tok Ti's eyes. He hated Lin Feng to the core. If it wasn't for Lin Feng, he would probably have sat on the throne of the Lin clan's patriarch a long time ago, and there would be no need for him to risk his life like this. He'd laid in seclusion for an entire 20 years and set up a flawless trap, yet he'd lost at the hands of Lin Feng alone, so how could he not feel hatred? He would not let this matter rest so easily. He would not rest until he was dead. Right, it seems that other than Lin Feng, there are 3 other martial artists from the Lin clan who are also participating. I remember that among them, there seems to be Lin Jun, that old fox's eldest son, who also has the starry sky pupils, young Master Lin Zhan. Lam Tok Ti's lips curled up coldly. Jie laughed weirdly. A plan formed in his mind. When an assassin wants to assassinate a target, first, you have to find a favorable location. Lin Feng's eyes were bright as he looked around. This place was connected in all directions and there was no end to it. The assassin had nowhere to hide, so it was not a suitable place for an assassination. However, at the very least, the people here had all left. There would not be any complications in an assassination. Next is timing. The timing of an assassination is very important. A good timing can make the assassination extremely smooth. Sometimes, the target can't even use 10% of his strength. However, right now it is also not a good timing. Lin Feng smiled. At this moment, his condition was 100% perfect. Wait. This land of miracles is huge. If I leave just like this, it will not be so easy for the assassin from the White Clothes Association to find me. Lin Feng's eyes were bright. He pondered for a moment and understood something. Although he could not sense it now, he believed that the assassin from the White Clothes Association must be hiding his whereabouts. He was most likely watching him in the dark. The possibility was very high. That's impressive. Lin Feng praised softly. To be able to be so close to him without being able to discover his whereabouts, This assassin's concealment ability was not ordinary. If he found a good timing to assassinate him, he might really be in danger. Since that was the case, why not come out? There's no one here. Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he suddenly shouted. The surroundings were silent. No one answered. Lin Feng smiled indifferently. He was just casually probing. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly as he shouted again. Not coming out? Then I'll wait for you here. After saying that, Lin Feng closed his eyes and sat cross-legged. Instead of being vigilant at all times and training in the land of miracles, why not remove the thorn by his side first? In the distance, a short man's body was completely hidden in the soil. White Clothes Association, 3-star assassin Ardwolf. He was from the Musca constellation and was good at concealment and assassination. He blended perfectly with the surroundings, and there was no aura at all. As a 3-star assassin, Ardwolf naturally had some skills. His assassination skills were perfect. Countless experts had died in his silent concealment, unable to use any of their strength. However, Lin Feng's shout just now made Ardwolf's face turn ugly. From the target's expression and actions, he seemed to know about the existence of the White Clothes Association and the current dangerous situation. Damn it! Ardwolf gritted his teeth. His heart was in turmoil and he was hesitant. Chapter 1043. Waste Time. Lin Feng sat cross-legged calmly like an old monk in meditation. Using inaction, time passed slowly. Ardwolf was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan, but he couldn't advance or retreat. His concealment ability required the support of star power. Although the consumption was small, it was still a consumption. It was like dripping water penetrating a stone. If he continued to consume it, his whereabouts would be exposed once his star power was depleted. Because this was the starting point. At this point, the nearly 20,000 star sector-level powerhouses had already left. If he suddenly exposed his aura in this empty area, how could Lin Feng not know? What should he do? What should he do? Ardwolf was really like his name. His face was ashen, and cold sweat kept dripping from his forehead. After so many assassination attempts, he had never encountered such an embarrassing situation. Now it was difficult to advance or retreat. It was as if he was hanging on a tree. It was a competition of patience. Lin Feng could afford to waste time. Whoosh! Lin Feng's aura spread out. At this moment, Lin Feng's mind was perfectly focused. Everything around him was within his perception. Not only was he cultivating his star sky eyes and star vast eyes, but he was also closely sensing every movement in his surroundings. He could clearly sense any changes. He didn't believe that the assassin from the White Clothes Association would give up on following him. Unless he was overthinking. However, Lady Nangong wouldn't lie to him. The news was most likely true. I'll take it as cultivating my eyes. There's plenty of time. Lin Feng was calm and not anxious at all. The Vermilion Bird Challenge was all about luck, not time. To other martial artists, Xiantian treasures, heavenly materials, and a hall of trials that was recognized by a saint were all extremely important. But to Lin Ming, these things weren't very useful. He was only here to break through to the saint level. His goal was very clear. Only the ancient Forbidden Land, Sparrow King Prison. However, before that, he had to get rid of all the unstable factors. To prevent future trouble. Let's see how long you can hide. Again and again, the second will weaken and the third will be exhausted. Concealing one's aura is due to treasures and star technique. No matter which one it is, it will be exhausted. Lin Feng pondered for a moment, not missing anything in his calculations. Although he could dig 3 feet into the ground and burn the surroundings to ashes with the endless flames of rebirth to force out the assassins of the White Robes Association, this was not as ideal as waiting. Firstly, He didn't know how many assassins the White Clothes Association had sent. Secondly, suppressing the enemy with silence was a huge blow to their morale. In the face of unknown strength and unknown numbers of enemies, not only did he need to maintain his best condition, he also needed to maintain his strongest strength. If he could win perfectly, then he wouldn't get injured. The fewer variables there were, the better. The Vermilion Bird Challenge competition had finally begun. The entire Vermilion Bird realm was paying close attention, and every single screen in the sky was displaying some of the details of the realm of divine remains. This challenge competition, that was held once every 100 years, was the most important challenge competition in the Suzaku continent. Especially the Saint's Palace of Trials, it was something that everyone paid the most attention to. They all wanted to see who would be able to pass the trial of the Hall of Trials and become a disciple of a saint. Not only were they curious, but they also wanted to broaden their horizons. They might even encounter them in the future. Naturally, many interesting things would happen in the ancient ruins as well. Especially when fighting over treasures, there would often be huge fight. A life and death battle between peak star sector level experts was rarely seen, but in the Vermilion Bird Challenge competition, it was very common. It was very exciting. However, the most exciting thing was the ranking board. There were many betting shops that had bets on the champion, second place, and third place of the Vermilion Bird Challenge competition, including the 4th to 10th place. There was a considerable payout rate for all of them. There were a total of 19,888 contestants, and the odds were extremely shocking. Many cultivators would be able to make a fortune just by winning once. Look, Master Lin Feng is here too. I saw him long ago. I wonder if Master Lin Feng can make it into the top 10? It'll be difficult. Master Lin Feng is so young, but his forging skills have already reached the peak. I'm afraid that he'll specialize in forging like Lady Nangong, and his strength won't be too strong. That's hard to say. He's a peak star sector level expert. Besides, Master Lin Feng's forging skills are so strong, and his equipment must be top-notch. Maybe he can rely on those heaven-defying astral treasures and astral weapons to create another miracle? I don't care if you believe it or not, but I believe in Master Lin Feng. I bet 10 star crystals to play with. It's true. I also bet 5 star crystals to try my luck. Haha. Lin Feng became the center of attention once again. After all, the blacksmith competition was still hot, and Lady Nangong had just announced that Lin Feng would be the vice president of the Zhuke Chao Refiners Union. Lin Feng was currently very popular, and many blacksmiths regarded Lin Feng as their idol and supported him. After all, it was better to buy someone familiar than to buy someone new. Besides, Lin Feng's miracles in the blacksmith competition were too impressive. He turned the tables a few times and created miracles time and time again. But this time, everyone was dumbfounded. 3 days had passed, and 19,888 contestants had all earned points. Some had more than 100 points, and some had at least 2 or 3 points. Only Lin Feng did not get a single point. He was ranked first on the rankings, but he was ranked last. Haha, I've already said that Master Lin Feng is a blacksmith, not a martial artist. If you don't listen to your elders, you'll be at a disadvantage. I've crossed more bridges than you have roads. Idiot, how can a blacksmith be strong? Listen to me. By Lu Rufeng from Huangguan County, Fei Yan from Jinghua County, and Yin San Yang from Quangren County. You can't go wrong if you buy all 3. By Master Lin Feng? You'll lose out. I advise you not to feel bad about money. That's right. Don't be blinded by Master Lin Feng. There were all kinds of birds in the forest. Lin Feng's sudden rise would definitely cause some people to be jealous and feel inferior. Now that they saw Lin Feng embarrassed, how could they not jump out to make their presence known? There were haters everywhere. However, Lin Feng's score of 0 was indeed a little unbelievable. It was quite strange. In the land of miracles, Lin Feng had been sitting cross-legged for 3 days. Some people would doubt themselves when they encountered setbacks, but Lin Feng had never wavered in his thoughts. Besides, so what if his judgment was wrong? He just spent some time cultivating the vast star eyes and vast star eyes. It was not a loss. Lin Feng was calm and composed. Although he was cultivating, he was ready to fight at any time. He was in peak condition now. However, Ardwolf, who was not far away, did not have it easy. He stayed in the soil for 3 days without moving at all. He was about to turn into a stone statue. This kind of dormancy was nothing for an assassin. Sometimes, in order to assassinate a target, it was normal to wait for 10 days to half a month. However, Ardwolf was now mentally and physically exhausted. He could not hold on any longer. He could not see any hope at all. Even if he had to wait for another 3 days, 7 days, or half a month, so what? He would not be able to move as long as Lin Feng did not leave. When his astral power was exhausted and his aura was exposed, he would not be able to kill Lin Feng even if he wanted to. The only possibility now was to hope that Lin Feng would give up. Only then would he have a chance to succeed. However, what if Lin Feng did not give up? He would only have a dead end. Damn it! This son of a bitch should be hacked to death. Ardwolf had already cursed Lin Feng's 18 generations of ancestors in his heart. He was mad with anger. However, he knew that he had no way out. He could only fight. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. The cultivation of the vast star eyes and vast star eyes suddenly stopped. They almost merged in an instant and formed their own state. Bang! Like a phantom, Lin Feng moved from stillness to action. The change happened in an instant. He was as fast as a shooting star and his eyes were shining. He had waited for 3 days. Finally, he showed up. He had waited for a rabbit. Sure enough, waiting for the rabbit is the right choice. Lin Feng's lips curled up slightly. In front of him, a short man in white clothes appeared in front of him. His eyes were fierce. The White Shirt Association. Finally, you are willing to come out? Lin Feng said slowly as he looked at the short man. Although he was short, he was not weak. His refined muscles were full of explosive power. His aura was also not to be underestimated. Obviously, he was a strong opponent. However, his aura was a little chaotic and his face was very pale. He could not control his anger. He was not in good condition. Good. You are very good. Ardwolf gritted his teeth and was extremely frustrated. Just you? Lin Feng asked, intentionally or unintentionally. Ardwolf snorted. His aura exploded and he was full of killing intent. I can kill you alone. Clang. The saber at his waist was unsheathed. It was different from a normal saber. It was short and powerful. The double serrated edge flashed with a bit of ferocity. As his voice fell, Ardwolf flew out like a shooting star. His shocking explosive power pushed his speed to the extreme. The stars behind him faintly seemed to merge with his body. Simple, fast, direct. His speed was extremely fast. But Ardwolf met his real nemesis this time. Illusory arts. Lin Feng's eyes instantly shone with resplendent astral light, as though a constellation had exploded. Ardwolf's head made a sound and he was shocked. After all, he had a strong mind and reacted instantly. However, in that instant Lin Feng had disappeared. What? Ardwolf's face finally changed at this moment. Impossible! Just as the thought appeared in his mind, a terrifying aura flashed behind him. Die! It was like a cry from hell, mixed with a terror that could devour everything. Lin Feng's execution of the illusion to the changes of the mist cloud steps and the explosion of speed were all perfect. This was the result of cultivation, the battle ability after being tempered by a saint-level expert. As for Ardwolf, although he was strong, His current condition was extremely bad. He was an assassin, but he did not even expect eye technique. The moment he made his move, it was clear who was better. Bang! The flames were ferocious. Lin Feng's movements were faster and more direct than Ardwolf's. Simple and violent. No! Ardwolf's eyes were bloodshot as he roared. He could not understand how Lin Feng was so strong. However, he would never know the answer. Bang! Lin Feng's eyes flashed as he stood in the air. The information of your White Clothes Association should still be from a year ago, right? Unfortunately, the difference is too big. Lin Feng smiled indifferently. Chapter 1044. They are very careful. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Although the White Clothes Association assassin left behind a storage ring, there were only some ordinary treasures inside. In addition, he had astral treasures and astral weapons. Although they were worth a lot of money, they were not of much help to him. Obviously, he was a professional assassin. Even if the assassination failed, he did not leave any evidence. In fact, he did not even leave anything that could prove his identity. He seems to be the only one who ambushed me, Lin Feng said softly. According to Lady Nangong, the White Clothes Association is the largest assassin organization in the Vermilion Bird continent. It is impossible for them to have a strong start and a weak finish. Since the Vermilion Bird Challenge has begun, I will stay here for a year or even 3 years. How can an assassin organization not have a backup plan? Lin Feng's eyes flashed. He knew a little about the assassin organization's operations. As the saying goes, even if you have never eaten pork, you have seen pigs run. In order to achieve their goals, they would do anything. How could an assassin organization be like him, who only had 3 axes? He believed that they would soon know about the failure of this assassination and plan for the next one. Be careful. However, even if there are still assassins, at least there are none nearby. It is not that easy to coincidentally bump into them again in this land of miracles. There should be a period of peace. Lin Feng looked around, deep in thought. Waiting for a rabbit. It was already good enough to wait for a rabbit. There was no need to be greedy. The most important thing for him to enter this place was to find the existence of the Sparrow King prison. I heard from Gui Gu that only those who are fated can enter the ancient forbidden area. I wonder if I am fated with the Sparrow King prison. With a faint smile, Lin Feng floated up. In an instant, he disappeared like a gust of wind. Boss, Ardwolf's mission failed. As expected, the target this time is not an ordinary person. The one who spoke was a man in white. His eyes were as bright as stars, shining brightly. The target may have been alerted. Observe for a while and wait for the right opportunity to make a move. Be smart, parrot. Yes, boss. Lin Feng had finally begun his journey. Although he was late by 3 days, it was insignificant compared to the 1 to 3 years of experience. Gui Gu said that this land of miracles is an independent dimensional space, a world completely different from the Douling world. It should be similar to the Thousand Snake Acupoint. Lin Feng felt relaxed and happy as he sensed the rich spiritual energy in the surroundings. It was as if returning to the Sky Martial continent gave him a feeling of adventure. Lin Feng's gaze fell on his left hand. There was nothing special about the ancient cup. The faint light flashed with a clear number 0. Lin Feng smiled slightly and didn't care. To him, it didn't matter how many points he scored in the Vermilion Bird Challenge. Of course, the top 3 would become King Yan's apprentices. As for the 4th to 10th place, they would be rewarded handsomely. However, he did not lack any of these at the moment. His only goal in participating in the Vermilion Bird Challenge was become a saint. It's not easy to break through from star sector level to saint. The path, that belongs to me, what kind of path is it? Lin Feng's eyes flashed. In the Thousand Snake Acupoint, he had asked Senior Glenoid Scale. However, he didn't tell him clearly. It was just a simple sentence: a true powerhouse has their own path to becoming a saint. When it's time to comprehend it, you will naturally comprehend it. This sentence kept appearing in his mind. Lin Feng couldn't help but shake his head. No matter how he looked at it, there didn't seem to be any secrets hidden within. Senior Glenoid Scale wasn't a powerhouse who cherished his own knowledge. He definitely wouldn't hide it for himself. However, since he didn't tell him, he must have his own reasons. However, what exactly should he do to break through to become a saint? Lin Feng was confused. In fact, Lin Feng wasn't the only one who had a headache. At this moment, there were countless peak star sector level powerhouses in this land of miracles. They were all troubled by finding their own path. Who didn't want to become a saint? However, the ratio between star sector level and saint was less than 10,000. One could imagine how difficult it was to become a saint. Many talented powerhouses were stuck at peak star sector level, unable to take another step forward and step into the palace of martial arts. The difference of one level was like the difference between heaven and earth. This was why the Vermilion Bird Challenge was so attractive. As long as one triggered the ancient forbidden grounds, there was a high chance of becoming a saint. Even though the chance was slim, it was still hope. It was a path that one could see. It was much more reliable than the ethereal path of becoming a saint. That was why so many star sector level powerhouses came one after another. However, there was only one chance. If one reached the star sector level and entered the land of miracles but didn't trigger any miracles, it would be useless even if one entered a few more times. However, with the opening of the Sparrow King's prison, the path to becoming a saint that was as thin as a needle was now 10 times, 100 times, or even 1,000 times wider. This was because the Sparrow King prison didn't need to be triggered to open. Now that it already existed in the land of miracles, the door was open. All one had to do was find it and enter. Then, through the Sparrow King prison, one would definitely become a saint. How attractive was this? In the depths of the land of miracles, a sea of flames covered the sky and covered the earth. This place was like a flaming mountain. Pung, pung, pung. Flaming meteorites flew everywhere, and the astonishing wind pressure brought with it terrifying sonic booms, forming a forbidden area. This was a true ancient forbidden ground. Within the flames, there was a black haze that couldn't be seen clearly. It was like an existence of a black hole. Above the forbidden ground, a man in red stood in the air. His eyes were bright. It was the king of the Vermilion Bird Continent, King Yen. The meteors attacked indiscriminately. They didn't show any mercy because of King Yan's strength. However, with King Yan's strength, he didn't fear these meteors. There were many levels in the saint realm. With King Yan's strength, ordinary saints couldn't hurt him at all, let alone these star sector level powerhouses. However, while the meteors couldn't hurt King Yan, it was hard to say for others. The Sparrow King prison is indeed one of the best in the ancient forbidden grounds. Opening 6 passages at once is simply unheard of. As time passes, the number of passages will probably increase. No wonder it opened earlier. King Yan's eyes shone brightly. The corners of his mouth curved up slightly. He was very satisfied. I didn't expect so many talented young experts to appear in the Vermilion Bird Continent in the past 100 years. The 5 stars compete and reflect each other, but they reflect the only star. There seems to be some kind of connection between the two. Master once mentioned that as long as a phenomenon appears, there'll definitely be a great change. I wonder if it's a blessing or a curse. In the southern region, there was a fairyland filled with light fog. The empty valley was quiet. All kinds of rare fruits could be seen everywhere. The entire valley was filled with a natural fragrance. There were not many people in the secluded valley, but each warrior had a different aura, as if they were hidden in this space, faintly discernible. Saints. All of them were legendary saints. In the human world, it was difficult to even see a single saint. Here, however, they were everywhere. In the depths of the secluded valley, where not a single saint could enter, an old but sage-like figure stood there with his hands behind his back, looking up at the sky. Through the thick fog, the starry sky here wasn't dim. Instead, it was especially bright. It was thousands of times brighter than the Ling world. At this moment, stars were scattered all over the place. It was like a giant chessboard. Some of the densely packed stars were bright, while others were dim and lightless. At the northern and southern ends of the starry sky, there were two extremely huge stars. They flashed with different lights. The huge star in the south was extremely dazzling at this time, faintly shrouding the light of the other stars in the south, as if a king had descended. Although the huge star in the north was huge, its luster was not as bright as the other small stars. However, one in the south and one in the north, the two reflected each other's light. It was as if there was a thread connecting them. Sigh. With a long sigh, the old man seemed to have aged a lot. The stars are in chaos. The Ling world is about to change. Although two stars appeared at the same time, the Demon Clan's Emperor Star is completely shining. Who can fight against it? Is there still time? The soft voice carried a heavy sigh. The old man's bright eyes slowly closed. He seemed to shake his head helplessly. There were many things that he could see, but he might not be able to stop. At this moment, whoosh! In the thick fog, a brown figure suddenly appeared. He cupped his hands slightly. Greetings, Emperor Yao. What's the matter? The old man turned around. His expression was calm, but there was an oppressive pressure. It was a kind of innate temperament. It was a symbol of strength. He was one of the 12 Saint Lords of the human world. He was King Yan's master, the ruler of the southern region, and a Saint King-level supermaster. Emperor Yao. A master called Emperor. He was the supreme existence at the top of the pyramid in the human world. The messenger of the wizard clan has arrived, the brown figure said softly. Finally here. Emperor Yao's eyes flashed with indifference. It was not out of his expectations. He turned around and glanced at the starry sky. Disappointment and helplessness flashed in his eyes. Then, he closed his eyes and turned around. Lead the way. Yes, Emperor Yao. The Demon Clan is about to make a move. Holding a commander competition? Ha! Emperor Yao's eyes were light, and there was a faint smile on his face. He quickly finished reading the parchment in his hand. With a shake of his right hand, he kept the parchment. Looking at the huge messenger of the wizard clan in front of him, although he was looking up, his aura was completely suppressed. Emperor Yao said lightly, I have received the wizard emperor's order. I will go to the wizard clan's sacred land soon. Okay. The messenger of the wizard clan nodded. Goodbye, Emperor Yao. Standing still, Emperor Yao looked at the leaving figure of the messenger of the wizard clan. He frowned slightly and sighed. What will come will come. I didn't expect it to come so soon. The third war of the wizard clan, I'm afraid, it will also be the last. Chapter 1045. The Vermilion Bird Challenge competition was progressing rapidly. The Vermilion Bird territory was filled with a peaceful atmosphere. Taking advantage of this popularity, all kinds of activities were held, such as the Luo Chamber of Commerce's Grand Auction and the New Star Challenge competition. As the Weapon Refiner competition came to an end, the Inscription Master competition, the Alchemist competition, and the Star Symbol Master competition were held one after another. Of course, in terms of popularity, there was a big gap between them and the Weapon Refiner competition, but all the elites of the Vermilion Bird continent had gathered. The current Vermilion Bird territory was in the middle of a grand event that happened once in 100 years, especially the Grand Auction, which the Luo Chamber of Commerce had been preparing for a long time. Now, with the announcement of some of the auction items at the bottom, it caused a huge uproar. Among them were the soaring phoenix that Master Lin Feng had refined. There were a total of 3 of them. Although they were not of the legendary grade, they were of the perfect grade. They could only be found by chance. In an instant, Lin Feng's reputation became even more popular. In terms of refining skills, Master Lin Feng is the best. He can actually refine perfect items at will. Yes, I'm afraid that even Lady Nangong will concede defeat on this point. That soaring phoenix wings is an Earth Rank 3 astral treasure. It's extremely difficult to refine. To think that we can't even refine a human rank astral treasure of top quality, alas. But Master Lin Feng is not omnipotent. Look at the Vermilion Bird Challenge competition rankings. A month has passed, and Master Lin Feng is still lingering at the bottom of the rankings. But it doesn't matter. Master Lin Feng is now the vice president of the Zhuke Chao Refiners Union. TSK. His status is much higher than ordinary saints. Although a month had passed, Lin Feng was still very popular. The name Lin Feng could be heard everywhere in the Vermilion Bird territory. Of course, the Lin clan added fuel to the fire. Lin Zhen had secretly promoted the name Lin Feng, but he had made a living signboard for the Lin clan. Now, who would still remember the existence of the Pang family in Shiluo Prefecture? Even though the Lin clan was still no match for the Pang family in terms of family power, the Lin clan was still far from the Pang family. But in terms of fame, he was far superior. The land of miracles. Bang! The flames were dazzling. Lin Feng floated in the air like a deity. The flame in his hand slowly dissipated, and the corpses of the surrounding demonic beasts also turned into ashes. The airflow gradually calmed down. There sure are a lot of demonic beasts here. Lin Feng sighed lightly. Over the past month, he had been searching all over the land of miracles. He had seen many ancient ruins and trial halls, especially the ancient ruins. There were as many as the hairs on a cow in the land of miracles. However, there was no trace of the Sparrow King prison that he was looking for. The land of miracles was much bigger than he had imagined. This was a completely independent space. It could be seen from the density of the spirit chi here. Because of the density of the spirit chi, many mutated beasts, innate treasures, heavenly treasures and earthly treasures were born. Lin Feng was very clear about this. These were all born and nurtured. The more spirit chi there was, the more abundant it would be. However, the mutated beasts here were different from those in the Douling world. They seemed to be hostile to outsiders and were as violent as demonic beasts. As long as they saw demonic beasts, they would take the initiative to attack. However, Meng Chuan had yet to encounter any demonic beasts that were too powerful. Even if he didn't do anything, the 100-poison rainbow python could easily deal with them. There was no threat. But where was the Sparrow King prison? It wasn't a good idea to keep wandering around and wasting time. Lin Feng's eyes flickered as he pondered. Looking around, all he could see was an endless expanse of land, with no end in sight. Even with his vast star pupil and vast star pupil at the 4th level, he couldn't see through this mysterious land of miracles. It seemed like this place contained many secret. Flames flickered as Lin Feng's eyes opened slightly. The starting point of our journey was very rich in spirit chi. There was nothing special about it. However, half a month ago, I stepped into a place where the wood element was very active and dense. Today, the density of the wood element is much weaker and the earth element is much more active. Lin Feng murmured as he recalled the 3 demonic beasts he had just killed. All of them were earth element demonic beasts. In the past half a month, most of the demonic beasts he had encountered were wood element demonic beasts or wood spirit. It's just like the human world. The eastern domain, the southern domain, and the northwestern domain exist in 9 different domains. The southern domain is hot and the northern domain is cold. It's the same here. Either the wood element origin energy is active, or the earth element origin energy is active, or some other origin energy is active. Wait. Lin Feng's eyes flickered. A place with wood element demonic beasts is full of wood element demonic beasts. A place with earth element origin energy should be the same. Will there be a chance to light up the earth-destined star plate? Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. Out of the 5 earth-destined star plates, he only lacked the earth-destined star plate. Once the last earth-destined star plate was lit up, it might be of great help to him becoming a saint. Most importantly, even if he comprehended the path to becoming a saint mentioned by Senior Glenoid's scale, due to the restriction of the Phoenix natal plate, he still couldn't advance if he didn't light up the Earth-destined star plate. This was very important. However, Lin Feng instantly shook his head. Difficult. Although the crystals of the Earth element demonic beasts in this saint land have a lot of energy, it's far inferior to the 100 Falls. It's only a little bit of energy. Even if I kill all the earth element demonic beasts here, I'm afraid I won't be able to light up even 1%. Lin Feng's eyes flickered. He was very clear about this. The wood element demonic beasts he had killed in the past half a month weren't very strong. They were basically at the peak of Cosmic Realm level 7. Only one demonic beast had reached Cosmic Realm level 8. However, the energy of the star crystal was almost negligible to him. Thinking about it, the earth element demonic beast should be the same. That's true. If the demonic beasts are too strong, the other martial artists will probably be in trouble. Lin Feng nodded. He could easily win because he was now at the peak of Cosmic Realm level, but what about the other martial artists? Half of the 19,888 contestants had passed through the preliminaries. They might have amazing potential, but they might not be strong enough. Wait, so what if it's an ancient ruin? A thought suddenly flashed in Lin Feng's mind. Will the ancient ruin have slight differences due to the difference in origin energy, or is there something special about it? It's very possible. Lin Feng's eyes slowly changed as his heart moved. In the past month, he hadn't taken half a step into the ancient ruin. Wasn't that too subjective? If I deliberately look for the Sparrow King prison, I might not be able to find it. However, the path to becoming a saint is one's own. Why must I take the path of the Sparrow King prison? Just like what Senior Glenoid's scale said, every expert has their own path to take. If the Sparrow King prison is really the path I want to take, then even if I can't find it will definitely find me. Fate couldn't be forced. Lin Feng nodded and finally understood. It was better to act than to be moved. Since he wanted to know the secret of the ancient ruin, Lin Feng naturally wouldn't waste time. Whoosh! Soon, he entered the nearest ancient ruin. It was a stone palace that emitted an ancient aura. There were mud and stone statues all around, forming the appearance of various demonic beasts. Lin Feng's eyes were burning as a faint flame faintly shot out. Suddenly, conditioned reflex, Lin Feng laughed. Looking at the mud and stone statues, he thought of the stone statues in the Thousand Snake Cave. Obviously, the mud and stone statues here wouldn't revive, and there were no battle snakes or totems on the stone palace. This place felt heavy and eerie, and there was a faint smell of blood. Lin Feng's eyes flashed as he sped forward. There are indeed demonic beasts in the ancient ruin, Lin Feng said softly. Soon, he entered the ancient ruin and saw some dark red blood stains. Obviously, there had been a battle here. He wasn't the only one in the land of miracles. Whoosh! Lin Feng's eyes flashed as he entered his own state. The 4th level top-notch I had reached the peak of its ability to sense the surroundings. It wasn't inferior to a saint. However, there was no aura of a martial artist here. Moreover, the blood stains didn't look like they were only here for 2 or 3 hours. Mud deer, me rabbit, these are all earth element beasts. Lin Feng looked at the corpses on the ground and identified them clearly. In terms of body size, it's about level 3 to level 5 cosmic realm state. Lin Feng thought and took a deep breath. This ancient ruin was indeed inextricably linked to the outside world. If he guessed correctly, a bright light flashed in Lin Feng's eyes as he rushed forward. As expected, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The deeper he went, the larger the corpses of the demonic beasts on the ground. From shallow to deep, just like in a forest, the outer area was usually filled with weaker demonic beasts, and the deeper area was the habitat of some stronger demonic beast. This was the habit of demonic beasts. What excited him the most was that the demonic beasts that died already had considerable strength. A Han stone turtle, whose strength was about level 6 cosmic realm state. In the land of miracles where the wood origin energy is dense, I stayed for half a month. Even where the wood origin energy is the strongest, there are only level 6 to level 7 cosmic realm state demonic beasts. But here, where the earth origin energy isn't dense, there are such powerful demonic beasts. Because this was an ancient ruin. In the ancient ruin, there were not only treasures that didn't exist outside but also powerful demonic beasts. Now there were already demonic beasts of such strength in the outer area. What would happen if he went deeper? Demonic beasts might be an obstacle to other martial artists, but to him, perhaps it would be true wealth. Perhaps it's not impossible to encounter an earth element divine beast. Lin Feng's chest heaved as hope rose in his heart. Compared to absorbing the earth origin energy, the best way to light up the earth star disk was the simplest and most direct way: kill the earth element divine beast. He would directly obtain his natal astrolabe. In the past, he didn't have this strength, but now he could give it a try. Chapter 1046. He didn't continue to explore. Lin Feng clearly knew his current goal. He flew out and left the ancient ruins in an instant, entering deep into the land of miracles where the earth origin energy was abundant. Perhaps there wasn't much hope, but it was worth a try. Even if he failed, it didn't matter. Furthermore, was there a better choice at the moment? Vermilion Bird Realm. Lin Feng's name had spread far and wide. Along with the Lin clan, even the chickens and dogs had ascended to the heavens, and 100 flowers were blooming. I didn't expect the soaring phoenix wings to be auctioned for such a high price. Lin Zhen's eyes flashed as he sighed. After all, it's a perfect grade Earth rank 3rd level astral treasure. Lin Yan gently stroked his long beard and said with a smile, "Normally, there's a price but no supply. The price of a top-grade item is about 10,000 star crystals, and the price of a perfect-grade item is at least 100,000 star crystals. However, each item is being sold for 300,000 star crystals. This is indeed a little too much. I remember that the perfect-grade Earth rank 4th level astral treasure was auctioned last time, but it was only 250,000 star crystals." Lin Zhen sighed. A person's name is like a tree's shadow. Lin Yan's eyes flashed. This is the chain effect brought about by the name Lin Feng, causing the price to at least double. 3 soaring phoenix wings were auctioned for a terrifying price of 900,000 star crystals. To show their sincerity, the Luo clan Chamber of Commerce didn't charge a single cent. The Lin clan earned 900,000 star crystals, making everyone envious. My Lin clan was one of the top 3 artificer clans in Shiluo County, but we only earned a few tens of thousands of star crystals a year. But now, Lin Zhen shook his head speechlessly. In one day we earned the same amount of money as we did in several decades. This is too scary. Does the clan leader plan to auction off the remaining soaring phoenix wings? Lin Yan's eyes flashed. Before Lin Feng entered the land of miracles, He gifted the clan dozens of soaring phoenix wings, and all of them were perfect grade. If he sold them all, it was simply unimaginable. No, there's no need for that at the moment. Lin Zhen's expression was serious, and he wasn't blinded by the benefits before him. Right now, my Lin clan is already too high profile. If it weren't for Lin Feng's status, I'm afraid that someone would have done something to us in secret. If we move too fast, we'll fall hard sooner or later. Moreover, Lin Zhen looked at Lin Yen and said with a carefree smile, "Isn't 900,000 star crystals enough for the clan's needs?" Right. Look at me, this old fool. Lin Yen laughed heartily. Just as Lin Zhen had said, how could the rise of the Lin clan not cause envy? The blacksmith clans in Sherluo County had suffered great losses. Needless to say, the Pang family had suffered the most losses, especially Pang Yen. Because of his performance in the blacksmith competition, he had been sneered at, and even his status in the Union of Artificers had been damaged. Although he was also an honorary elder, Lin Feng was the vice president. The difference between them wasn't just a little bit. This world was very realistic and cruel. Man walked to the top and water flowed to the bottom. The higher-ups of the Union of Artificers naturally wouldn't offend Lin Feng for Pang Yen. They all drew a clear line between them, and in an instant, Pang Yen became a loner. However, a new emperor had his own ministers. No one could blame him. The evils he brought on himself were the hardest to bear. Today, the Lin clan's name had spread throughout Sherluo County. Many neutral powerhouses came to join the Lin clan out of admiration. There was no lack of star sector-level existences and powerhouses with excellent talent but poor family backgrounds. With money, everything was easy. Under the attack of 900,000 star crystals, the Lin clan grew stronger day by day. In the Qianluo district, the Wu clan, which used to be the strongest force, had already surrendered to others. A lot of things were actually closely linked to each other. Another 10 days passed. This is the area with the densest Earth origin energy. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. There was a faint blood mist in the air. It was indeed the few star sector level rank 7 Earth element beasts he had killed just now. Similar to the wood origin energy in the wild, the strength of these beasts basically reached the peak of star sector level rank 7. It was rare to see star sector level rank 8. Rank 9 was even more impossible. But it was different in the ancient ruin. Not only was there a huge secret hidden there, but it was also the lair of powerful beasts. The origin energy is divided into different levels of density. It's the same in ancient ruins. Although it's not clearly stated, the strength of the ancient ruins varies according to the source energy of the place. Lin Feng thought to himself. He was very clear in his heart. Although the stronger the origin energy was, the better the treasures one could obtain, at least. The chances were higher. Moreover, the beasts in the origin energy would definitely be stronger. This was the key. It's here. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Looking ahead, a strange cave appeared in his eyes. It was completely made up of thick earth block. It wasn't as simple and unadorned as the stone palace, nor was it as luxurious and resplendent as the Golden Palace. However, it was the place where the Earth origin energy was the thickest, the most powerful, and the densest. This was the best ancient ruin in the land of Earth elemental miracles. However, this Earth block cave was not big. It was only 6 meters tall and wide. It looked like an ordinary cave. Strange. I shouldn't have found the wrong place. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. A question flashed across his mind. This cave was more than 1.5 li away from the other origin energy ancient ruins. Not only was it not solemn or scary, but it also did not have the aura of an origin energy ancient ruins. No matter how he looked at it, it was just a small cave in the wild. There was nothing special about it. However, in this land of divine miracles, there shouldn't be any caves in the wild. There should only be origin energy, ancient ruins, and trial halls. Perhaps it's ugly. Lin Feng smiled. Whether it is or not, there's no need to guess. We'll know once we enter. What you hear may be false, but seeing is believing. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He made up his mind. Just as he was about to enter, he suddenly heard the sound of wind. Lin Feng frowned. There was a strong aura coming from the left and right. Among them, the aura on the left was not only strong, but also he was very familiar with it. It was extremely fast, like a shooting star. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. It's him. Jinji, Lin Feng said softly. It was the gray-clothed youth that he had interacted with a few times. When he arrived, he was also looking at him. There was a faint smile on his face, and a faint golden light flickered on his forehead. At this moment, a sturdy figure appeared on the right. He was wearing an ordinary yellow armor, but it was shining with a bright light. Earth-rank yellow innate star armor? Lin Feng was surprised. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, purple. Among the Earth-rank innate treasures, yellow was considered rare. Fei Yin. Jinji looked over and squinted his eyes. Jinghua County, Fei Yin. Hearing this name, Lin Feng immediately recognized him. The man in the yellow armor was one of the super experts that Hua Yidao had mentioned. The Earth Shield constellation was known for its strong defense. A pair of bright eyes glanced at Jinji and paused on him for half a second. Fei Yin did not say a word. He was as cold as usual. With a loud shout, a violent and thick earth energy spread out in all directions. Fei Yan's eyes were cold as he entered the ancient ruins. Bang! Lin Feng extended his right hand, and the fire instantly cancelled out the earth energy. His eyes flickered. Naturally, he knew that Fei Yin wasn't really attacking. Instead, it was a show of force and a warning. Don't fight with him. But it did not seem to work. Lin Feng looked at Jinji. The latter smiled faintly and did not say anything. He entered the ancient ruins like a shooting star. Obviously, he was confident in his own strength. Also, he could feel that Jinji's aura was stronger than before. I almost forgot that the origin of earth energy here is quite strong. Lin Feng suddenly smiled. Jinji's natal constellation was the Scorpio constellation of the 12 royal constellations. He cultivated and comprehended earth and time. Here, he was like a fish in water. Including Fei Yan's shield constellation, it is also of the earth element. As for me, not only did my strength not increase, but it also weakened a lot. With a faint smile, Lin Feng did not care too much. Although he was competing with Jinji and Fei Yan, they were not enemies. Their strength had nothing to do with him. On the contrary, they were opening a path for him. Maybe, in this ancient ruins, he could lessen a lot of his burden. With a smile, Lin Feng looked at the huge stone cave in front of him. His eyes lit up. If he was only 80% sure before, he was 100% sure now. Even Jinji and Fei Yan found this place. It proved that his previous guess was correct. This ancient relic was definitely extraordinary. I hope I can meet an earth element divine beast, Lin Feng said softly and flew in. To other warriors, the most annoying thing in the ancient ruins would be the endless demonic beast. But to him it was a goal and a hope. It really doesn't look good. Lin Feng smiled. After entering this small cave, he knew what was inside. Although the cave was only 6 meters tall and wide, the deeper he went, the more spacious it was and the stronger the aura was. The earth elements in the surrounding area were extremely active, wandering around like jubilant spirit. The earth origin energy here was thick and heavy, giving him a deep sense of pressure. Jinji and Fei Yan must be like fish in water, Lin Feng said softly. He, on the other hand, was limited by the unique environment here. The thicker the earth element was, the thinner the fire element was, and the harder it was for him to use his strength. The earth origin energy here is even deeper than the outside world. Lin Feng's eyes lit up and nodded. He could not see what was so special about this ancient ruin from the outside, but now he understood that this ancient ruin was not built on the surface, but underground. He had been walking down the path of downwards. No wonder the earth element is so thick. No wonder I could not see any clues from the outside. Lin Feng was secretly moved and clenched his fist. Inexplicably, he felt a little excited. It was a kind of hope. Chapter 1047. Endless Sea Domain. The territories of the various demon clans were buzzing with activity. The Commander Tournament was about to begin. The 4 royal clans, the 5 royal clans, and the 12 Guardian Stars were nominating their representative. This was the biggest event for the demon clans. Becoming the champion of the Commander Tournament would not only bring honor to their clans, but they would also be able to lead the demon clans. What an honor! Although it was only temporary, once the human clan was defeated and the demon clans took over the entire Douling world, the commander would be supported by the entire demon clan. Ancestor, I'm counting on you. Kuei Tianyuan bowed. Don't worry. I, Kuei Tianyuan, will definitely become the strongest demon clans and lead the Blood Tiger clan. Father, this is the best opportunity for the Two-Faced Lion clan. Zhong Yong's eyes widened. I'm definitely going to be the commander. A burly man with 2 lion faces puffed out his chest and exuded a domineering aura. The 4 royal clans and the 5 royal clans were all trying their best to stand out. The 12 Guardian Stars, who were slightly weaker, were fighting with their backs against the wall. This was the best opportunity for them to rise. When the time came, they might be able to squeeze into the 6 royal clans and the 5 royal clans, or even lead the entire demon clans. Of course, the prerequisite was that they had to win this commander tournament. The Barbarian Bull clan. Clang! Clang! The giant axe fell, causing the heavens to collapse and the earth to crack. It was a bull-headed man who was as burly as a mountain. He was 10 meters tall and held a giant axe in his hand. His body was furry and his upper body was naked. His muscles looked like they were about to explode. His arms and legs were like iron pillars that were deeply embedded into the ground. It was a terrifying sight. Senior Bull Demon, I'm counting on you to lead the Commander Tournament, Niu Qing said with a simple and honest smile. Leave it to me. Bull Demon patted his chest and said proudly. He was excited to be able to fight the Sage Kings of the demon clans. This was his goal in coming to the Douling world. The Macaque Monkey Clan. Clan leader, the great sage is still in seclusion. Hey! Sun Wu, the demon star of the Macaque Clan, let out a long sigh and scratched his head. This monkey really knows how to pick a time. If he doesn't come out of seclusion soon, I'm afraid he won't have the time. Patriarch, should we send the Great Elder to participate? Bullshit. Sun Wu glared at him. Apart from that monkey, who else in the Macaque clan is qualified to participate in the chieftaincy competition? If he didn't want to go, he might as well just forfeit. Relying on the Great Elder? It's better not to go. It'll save me the trouble of embarrassing myself like a monkey's butt. Oh! The demon race was bustling with activity. In fact, the monster race had no intention of hiding their intentions. In terms of strategy, the beast race couldn't even compare to half of the human race. Whether it was the first or the second war, the beast race didn't rely on their brains. They relied on their overwhelming power and numbers. Be it Saint King, Saint, or Cosmic Realm State, the beast race was far superior to the human race. So what if the human race found out? For so many years, the human race had been holed up on land, unable to enter the endless sea. The only thing they could do was to defend themselves. He was completely at a disadvantage. Land of Miracles. Just as Lin Feng guessed and saw, it was divided into sections. Among them, there were areas with extremely dense water elements, wood elements, and fire element. At this moment, Lin Feng was indeed in the area with the densest earth element. Ancient ruin earth clam. The cave was like a clam, hence the name. Phew! Lin Feng let out a long breath, his eyes shining. From the moment he entered, the deeper he went, the larger the corpses of the demonic beasts he saw. It meant that they were getting stronger. If I'm not wrong, this should be a Cosmic Realm State Level 8. I didn't expect to see a Cosmic Realm State Level 8 beast so soon after entering. The deepest part, Lin Feng's eyes sparkled. He was looking forward to it. However, he didn't speed up. Instead, he moved slowly. His eyes flashed as he carefully sensed the surroundings. To him, there was no need to compete with Jin Ji and Fei Yan. The two of them were quite strong, and their strength increased by at least 20% here. Otherwise, he would be weakened by 20%. However, he wasn't interested in the wealth and treasures in the ancient ruin, so he let them be. Moving slowly not only allowed him to reap the benefits, but he could also preserve his strength. If he really encountered an earth element divine beast, he would be able to fight in his best state. He went deeper and deeper. The cave became more and more spacious and bright. From the small cave in the wild, it was now connected in all directions like a maze. The corpses of the beasts had evolved from Cosmic Realm State Level 8 to Cosmic Realm State Level 9. He had even seen a peak Cosmic Realm State beast corpse. He was getting closer and closer to his goal. This place was like an underground world. If I can cultivate here, with such dense earth elements, it will be much easier, Lin Feng said softly. Oh right, sure, Jixin seems to be an earth element too. I wonder if she will come? Lin Feng smiled and then suddenly thought of something. Scorpio constellation cultivates the Tao of Earth and Tao of Time. Aries constellation cultivates the Tao of Earth and Tao of Space. The two of them were quite similar. Since there is a wood element origin land and a earth element origin land, I think there must be a fire element origin land. After exploring this strange cave, I might as well look for it. Maybe there will be an opportunity. Lin Feng smiled and walked forward casually. Although the cave was huge and connected in all directions like a maze, he wasn't worried about getting lost. As long as his aura locked onto Jin Ji, he would just follow him. With Jin Ji's King Path constellation's sensing ability, judgment, and the earth element here, he would definitely choose the best path. Following him would be the right choice. However, the two of them seemed to have different judgments, Lin Feng said softly. Not long ago, Jin Ji and Fei Yan had already gone their separate ways. He didn't know if it was on purpose or if they had different senses. Of course, it didn't matter. As Lin Feng thought to himself, he sensed his surroundings as he walked leisurely. Along the way, all the beasts were killed by Jin Ji. His attacks were fast, ruthless, and accurate. He didn't seem to have the sturdiness of the earth element. It was strange. However, it was a King Path constellation after all. It was naturally different from normal constellations. Ta! Lin Feng's eyes flickered as he came to a stop. The airflow in front of him was very strong. He could faintly hear the roars of beasts mixed with the sounds of fighting. It was obvious that Jin Ji encountered beasts again. The frequency is getting higher. This ancient ruin doesn't seem to have been explored by anyone before. Or maybe the person who came didn't explore that deep. Lin Feng was calm and composed. He naturally didn't plan to help Jin Ji. With his power, it was easy for him to kill these level 8 and level 9 Cosmic Realm State beasts. But, Lin Feng was slightly surprised. Instantly, he felt the airflow in front of him fluctuate even more violently. A shocking aura was rushing towards him from the depths of the cave. Lin Feng was surprised and frowned. It didn't make sense. Jin Ji's aura didn't weaken at all. Moreover, with his strength, how could he not handle these beasts? Although there seemed to be a lot of them. 10, 20, 40. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. His senses were getting stronger. A flame instantly appeared in his hand. He could see that in the depths of the pitch-black hole, there was a violent movement like a beast tide. Demonic beasts were charging out crazily, and at the front was Jin Ji. Whoosh! Jin Ji instantly passed through him. I see. Lin Feng laughed bitterly. At that moment, he saw the expression on Jin Ji's face. It was calm and had a smile on it. Obviously, he purposely brought these beasts to him. There were quite a lot of them. From what he sensed, there were at least 100 beasts rushing out from the depths of the cave. The weakest among them was a level 7 cosmic realm state, while the strongest had the power of a peak cosmic realm state. Their bodies were huge, and they had absorbed enough earth elements to make their defense extremely terrifying. But that was all. Rebirth fire. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He didn't panic at all. His body moved lightly. It seemed like a small step, but there was a mysterious feeling. The flame whistled and lit up the cave. He didn't fight, but it didn't mean he was afraid. Such a strong domain. He can already use domain to such an extent without relying on it. Jin Ji crossed his arms in front of his chest. At this moment, he was watching Lin Feng fight from afar, just like what Lin Feng did before. With Jin Ji's strength, how could he not know that Lin Feng's aura was locked on him? At this moment, he was just returning it to Lin Feng. This flame has enough defense but not enough offense. That's true. His strength must be weakened a lot here. It's not bad to have such power. It's similar to what I imagined. Jin Ji's eyes flashed as he pondered. He had always been curious about Lin Feng's strength. Now, he finally knew. Although his combat strength might not be as good as mine, his understanding of domain is above mine. My state is not as good as his. Jin Ji's eyes flickered as he pondered. Over 100 beasts were slain by Lin Feng in less than half the period it took an incense stick to burn. His actions were skillful, concise, and fast. He has a deep understanding of slaughter. He must have experienced many life and death battles to grow to such an extent. Jin Ji's praise for Lin Feng went up another level. Phew! Lin Feng exhaled softly as his eyes lit up. The flame in his hand rose again like a halo of fire, illuminating the entire cave. All the severed limbs, corpses, and blood disappeared in this flame. The cave quickly regained its tranquility. But the flame extinguished. Lin Feng turned around and looked at Jin Ji. Seeing that the latter was calm and smiling at him, he knew what was going on. They smiled at each other and were about to speak. Suddenly, boom! Boom! The entire cave suddenly shook violently as if it had collapsed. This is... Lin Feng's eyes lit up. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.